Hello everybody and welcome back to the Drift Masters European Championship. It is round 4, we're in Latvia, it is Riga baby. We are just about to head into our top 16 battles and boy do we have an afternoon for you. But before we get into that, I've grabbed one of our drivers from the paddock who hasn't had the best season and unfortunately this will be his last round. So Dylan Garvey, thank you for joining me down here. Let's have a recap. I mean, we had clutch issues, we had tyre issues, we've had 2 engine issues, and unfortunately this round, an engine failure. Can you tell us from your words, what's been going on?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for the support throughout the year. I'm really, really happy with everything, and look, this season hasn't been for me at all. But next year we'll be back stronger. But a recap from round 1 was like an unfortunate error with the tyre, so we pushed to round 2. We were hoping for our best luck really, and round 2, my clutch went. Go to round 3, we had a mishap with the engine. A piece of fiberglass got in underneath the rocker cover and missed timing, so it wasn't my fault, it wasn't anyone's fault. Round 3, we had another engine failure, so it's not my luck. It's just unfortunate it's happening all in one. But look, we'll be back and we'll be back a lot stronger next year.
Now, Dylan, how have you found your Drift Masters experience? You're a very accomplished driver. You've done IDC, you know. How have you found the competition? It's quite strong here, isn't it?
Yeah, look, coming to here this year, I knew it was going to be tough. I knew I had to up my game a lot. It's just the level of speed and drivers, it's absolutely crazy, Becky, and it's a lot to adjust to coming from the IDC and BDC level. But next year, we hopefully have the experience from this year gathered and try and push a lot harder.
Well, there you go. You know, nothing is lost, everything is gained. Like, you've had so much valuable experience. Now, let's talk about our top 32. You must have been kind of happy you were sat there watching the rain fall down, because this track is super tricky. Yeah,
looking at the lads there earlier in the top 32 was very tricky. Even for the top guns, they are struggling, and I find when they come through the inner cliff, it's just like a grease ball here. So I think they have to really be on their game to be like kind of competitive and controllable. It's just all about just be relaxed and do a good lane, nothing stupid, just drive good.
We've got to talk about Peter, an unexpected exit. How do you think the championship is going to shape up now? I mean, we've got the top 5 are still in there. We've got 3 Irish drivers, Conor, Jack, Duane. Do you think it's time for an Irish to take the top spot again?
Of course, we are obviously rooting our home lads, and I hope they go on and win the championship this year. I hope they go on the podium today as well, but obviously it's very bad for Peter getting knocked down 32. Look, the weather tells a lot as well with grip levels and stuff, but I just hope the Irish lads take it home and bring it home to Ireland.
Any predictions for next year? Obviously, you're going to join us again. Are you going to change up the car? What are you going to do? Are you going to come back with the same setup, or are you just going to, I don't know, turn up with a diesel Mercedes or something?
I think it's time for a 2J.
Oh, it's time for a 2J. There you go. You heard it there first, guys. Well, look, we're going to get into our top 16 battles. It's going to be a huge, huge afternoon. The rain has stopped, which is brilliant, which now means that the track is patchy. So that means anything could happen. Guys, I'm going to hand it up to you in the commentary box. Dave, this is going to be very interesting.
Thank you, Becky, and interesting is the word, because this is the turning point for most competitors in the championship. As Becky mentioned, we've got Duane McKeever still in there, the Shanahan still in there, Lauri Heinonen still in there, and Juha Rintanen. All of those drivers will have watched Peter Wiańczek's top 32 exit and said, well, he's not looking like the favorite to go 3 times in a row, and this could be my year. And we have a stacked top 16 grid here as we take it into one of the most dangerous tracks on the calendar. And I'll tell you one thing, we do not know what's going to happen from here. My name is Dave Egan. I'm going to be talking you through all the action with my good friend and colleague, Eddie Power. Eddie, we watched the sketchiest, craziest, and most unpredictable top 32 ever. But that's only the start of the story, because we've got to finish it here over the next 2 hours.
Exactly, Dave. I mean, it feels like we've already had it all this weekend, and from qualifying in the dry. We've nearly had cars go on the roofs, to torrential rain here this morning, and, you know, a flooded track. But you know what? We still have our top 16 to go, and that is the most important and exciting part of the competition. top 5 still in the competition as well. So championship is very much alive and valuable points up for a grab here over the next coming few hours.
Absolutely, and of course the track now starting to dry, but a lot of the drivers saying it's going to get worse because now there's a dry line, a wet line, there's standing water. This track is one of the most challenging when the conditions are perfect. Never mind when we've had torrential rain, but looks like now we're going to see this track start to make some smoke. We're going to start to see these drivers being able to put all that horsepower and grip down on the surface. But there are some areas of this track that will be treacherous still as we go into this top 16. And I think it's going to be telling a story as it goes along, because some of the drivers that are super experienced, including Peter Wiańczek earlier on and a couple of other big names, will fall foul of that. There's nothing they can do. Stuff is going to happen to them on this circuit that they cannot plan for or have any strategy for. And championships are very much on the line here. So you know what? As far as I'm concerned, we've had the crazy qualifying. We've had the torrential rain in 32. What happens next? Well, the time for talk is over. The time for driving has just begun. Let's head in to our top 16. The 2023 Drift Masters European Championship title is very much on the line as we head into this top 16. And we will kick it off with the man that kicked out the current champion, Nicholas Bertans. The Latvian driver will go up against the crazy German of Max Heidrich. Well, if you want to kick it off with a lot of action, this is how you do it. Two drivers not afraid to throw down here, and none have had any testing in these conditions. How to approach this track, we will not know until we see those laps go in. Heidrich always goes full steam into that first corner, but I'm thinking this guy, Nicholas Bertans, Nik Nak, he has the most experience on this track this year. He's been through the conditions. He's taken down the current champion. Can he take them all down today? Our Marshal Marson gives the word to our safety advisors. We are good to go. The track is clear, and Max Heidrich will lead in Nik Nak from Latvia in our first battle. Eddie, here we go.
Yes, well, Dave, Nicholas Bertans going to feel like the world is against him. Each time he comes out onto the circuit, the conditions have been changing for him. But as you say, the wealth of experience, and he knows this track better than anybody. But can he manage it better than Max Heidrich here, as Heidrich just gets out of control on the entry, and just, as you see, just so used to those wet conditions from earlier on. Things have completely changed now as they come out for top 16. And Bertans gets it up onto the curb, but he's losing some ground here to Max Heidrich, who's starting to pull a bit of a gap here. But Heidrich, as you can see there, just how patchy it is now as they come through the final section. Oh, and a spin from Max Heidrich. You could see that coming, Dave.
Yeah, look, this is what we talked about, these changing conditions. It looks like there is a dry line through some of those outer zones, but it looks like the two that have been causing all the trouble today are still totally wet, which is coming into outer zone 6. As you can see, Max Heidrich losing the back end of the car completely, if not all of the back end of the car. And on entry, he came in with a lot of confidence. You can see that front wheel wobbling as he's not sure what conditions. He went to go on throttle, but then all of a sudden, boom, he hits that really wet outer patch that looked to me like almost 2 wheels over the white line. Nicholas Bertans doing the clever job of staying back and out of trouble. And it looked like they were getting the story back together, but as they transitioned, I can guarantee you Max Heidrich was feeling the grip on the outer zone, came to go back on the throttle, absolutely no grip whatsoever. And of course, look at those painted white lines. They're going to be slippy as well, because of course the paint not getting a great chance to dry while the weather came down. Max Heidrich unlucky there, spinning it around and giving a huge advantage to Nik Nak. A 10-0 advantage in old money, but it's also an inactive run from Max Heidrich, meaning he's got to go for broke here, put it on the door and hope that Nicholas Bertans makes a mistake. But Nicholas hasn't put a foot wrong all day, regardless of the conditions, but this is the time to really get the job done. Yeah, well, Heidrich really has to apply the pressure now, turn the screw and see if he can force an error from the youngster, the 18-year-old from Riga, local boy here. The local fans will be wishing him on here into the top 8. He's got as good an opportunity as he's going to get here, Dave. He's got a 10-0 advantage going into the second half of this one, in the lead position now. All he needs to do is just make a pass up the circuit and try and avoid any big errors here. Can he just keep those wheels on the track? Well, here we go. Bertans, nice 10th of entry. Max now looking to apply the pressure. Max goes onto that inner line now. Will he get caught? No, just manages to transition behind Nicholas Bertans nicely as Bertans lays down a solid lead line, avoids getting himself up onto those curbs, wants to stay away from those as best he can and avoid any trouble. And look at this really, really clever drive here from Bertans so far. This is where it all went wrong for Max on the first run, but no such problems for Nicholas Bertans as he massages it up into the wall here and gets ready to go safely across the line. And from my point of view, Dave, and I'm sure yours, into the top 8. Yeah, job done, I think, for Nik Nak there, as he does an exceptional job of adapting to all the different conditions on the track. You can see him, using the handbrake here and there just to test that grip level, where Max Heidrich kind of threw all his chips on the table. Nicolas Bertans did a much better job of managing through the course. And look, you got to give it up to Max Heidrich. He did absolutely everything he could do to try and turn that away. He put so much pressure on Nik Nak in that first corner, came in, and again, you can't have a good chase without a good lead, and that's exactly what Nicolas gave him as they transition back. This was a really tight transition from Max Heidrich, and at this point, he had nothing to lose. He knew he was going to go out of the competition unless he forced an error. Well, look, that lead driver, he may be young in age, but he's old in experience, and I'll tell you what, he did not back down one bit. This is going to be an easier decision for the judges than it's been for many of these battles throughout the day. And going through to the grade 8 is Nik Nak from Latvia, getting the win and going through, absolutely masterclassing. And you know what? It looks to me like he is one of the most comfortable drivers out there on the track, Ed.
Yeah, Dave, and why not when he's, you know, obviously his home circuit and a lot of practice laid down on this course over the recent weeks leading up to this event. And he moves on. He'll obviously be delighted. A top 8 for him and an opportunity to move on into the final 4. We move on to our next battle, which is sitting on the start line, and a huge one here, Dave.
This is massive. I know that Korpuliński not exactly in the championship race, but he goes up against James Deane, and if you can beat James Deane in Riga, everybody is talking about you for the next couple of weeks. James Deane has been exceptional in the dry and the wet this weekend, and he didn't qualify all the way up the order, only finishing in 9th in qualifying. But that doesn't matter when it comes to the battles. Only we remember from a weekend is who took home the trophies, and James Deane has taken the most of any driver from this venue when he's here. So Paweł Korpuliński will be the lead driver as the higher qualifier, but James Deane is going to be coming for blood here as he leaves the line exceptionally early, trying to get as much of an advantage as he can. And he's a big tactic here from Deane as he goes through the gears to try and get up close and personal to Paweł Korpuliński. Nice into that first corner.
Yeah, nice from Deane, nice from Paweł Korpuliński. Both these drivers qualifying well up the order, 8 and 9 respectively, but Paweł now tries to put foot to floor and find some ground that he can put between him and James Deane, but both drivers going very wide, Dave, and huge mistakes in front of the grandstand once again.
Yeah, Korpuliński not able to hang there because the grip levels are gone, and of course you're starting to build false confidence when you go along the circuit with a little bit of dry area, see a bit of smoke, and then all of a sudden, boom, that's where all that tire rubber is left. That's where the rain is still sitting, and Korpuliński not able to adapt. James Deane doing an exceptional job to avoid a big crash there.
So James Deane makes his way back up to that start line. We get an opportunity to check this one out just one more time. And you can see here, this is where it was going wrong in the wet, and now this patchy line here, just so much rubber laid down on this section of the circuit, and Korpuliński just goes too deep, and Deane left with nowhere to go here in the chase position.
Yeah, but it's a different surface change again. You'll watch just as they come towards that inner clip. Have a look at the line across the track here. As they come down here, just as it gets to about here, different surface altogether and a much slippier surface. Korpuliński not really doing anything wrong there. He just lost the back end of the car, and you can see Deane almost losing the back end of the car as well, but he just keeps it on the lock stops, and I was able to manage that car. And I think because Korpuliński is dropped deep and heavy in there, it's an incomplete from him, and Deane gets all the advantage. Well, James Deane, I think it's going to be, you know, survival mode here for all of these top-level drivers, just to not make that big error that you can't come back from. That's what it's going to be all about in this top 16. And the track will dry as we go through this top 16, making it much more predictable. But those areas, especially in front of the grandstand, as they go to the wall for the first time, seem to be the two treacherous areas that you can't overcommit. Can Korpuliński now turn this one around? But he's expecting the machine to have an error and make a mistake. That doesn't happen often. So Deane will take the lead position, knows he's got to get a clean run in here, and he's going to the grade 8. But Korpuliński, he's not going to go down without a fight. Here we go. No,
maybe not expecting a mistake from Deane, but certainly praying and hoping for one. Will he find one here? Can he force one? Easier said than done as James Deane initiates nicely into that first outer zone. But Korpuliński right there with him, right on the rear quarter here as they switch side by side. And Deane, now this is where it went wrong for Korpuliński. Korpuliński glued to James Deane. He makes contact as they come in front of the grandstand. But Deane, unfazed, keeps himself composed, keeps that car on angle. And James Deane now switches back, and you can just see him fighting that steering as he sets himself into the groove here. But look at this aggression from Korpuliński, but Korpuliński too far forward here. Judges will be penalising him for that one as they cross the line. A scrappy run day, but just how difficult is it out there right now?
Yeah,
for these
Korpuliński,
guys?
you know, threw a Hail Mary there through the inner zone and went closer than anyone's been all day. But he had to do something special. He went for it, which is what you have to do in his position, especially with a big disadvantage from the first run. And from my perspective right now, it looks like James Deane's going to wrap this one up and take it to the top 8. I can't see the judges going for anything, you know, anything too different there. But Korpuliński, watch this transition as he comes through here. That is depth-defying stuff in these conditions. And he goes right up onto the door of James Deane, makes contact with the front of Deane's car, smashes out a headlight, well, a fake headlight out of his car. But at that point, he put himself in the wrong area on the track. And as he transitioned towards the end of the run, it looked like to me that he'd gone overly aggressive, too far forward. And you don't want to be making front wheel to front wheel contact. The judges are not going to like that. And even at a disadvantage, he wasn't climbing back up the order too much. You know what? I love the bravery, though. Absolutely love the bravery from Korpuliński there. He knew it was James Deane. He knew he was at a disadvantage. Why not put something on for the fans? And that's exactly what he did. Yeah, well, he had to force the error, Dave. He wasn't able to do so, but he knows he can go back into the pits knowing that he gave it absolutely every little ounce of fight that he had left in him. Absolutely. I think the guys are going to know which way this one's going to go. It's for a spot in the top 8, and going through is James Deane. Gets the win and goes through to the top 8, trying to reclaim his title as King of Riga. James Deane is back in business this weekend as a wild card, taking out Paweł Korpuliński. He's already taken out Kevin Piscalty. Well, now he's got to go up against Nicholas Bertens in the top 8, and that's going to be an interesting one because those are the two guys that look like they're on the most form this weekend. And we move on to our next battle. It's going to be interesting every which way you look this weekend. Diogo Correia, fresh off a podium in Finland, goes up against Lauri Heinonen, who is fighting for the championship. Lauri Heinonen has to get the job done here against what is a very steely competitor in the Portuguese driver Diogo Correia, who again is coming off a podium. Lauri didn't manage that podium in Finland, in his own home country, due to power steering failure. This is a little bit of revenge for Heinonen, trying to get himself back on the podium. Yeah, this one, I don't know which way it'll go. Well, look, Correia looking absolutely pumped there, Dave, on the start line. He's ready for this. He's ready to take down Lauri Heinonen here in the top 16 and book himself a place in the Great 8. Will it go his way, though, as Lauri Heinonen now leaves the line? They slam through the gears. Heinonen sets himself up nicely. Nice initiation into that first outer zone. Correia, though, a little bit shallow here. Could he get caught? No, just manages to make it work there, but he's a slight straighten, flirting with the curve there on the inside line. He's just completely out of where he needs to be, as Heinonen now sets himself up nicely here. This has been a perfect lead run from him so far. Touches himself into the wall here, into the groove, and you can just see that rear spoiler just nestling up against the wall as Heinonen comes for it. But here comes Correia through the final sections, and Dave, do you know what? It's fast, it's slow, it's sketchy, and these guys... Yeah, it's very tough. And you know what the funny thing is? I thought Heinonen had thrown it away. He went to 90 degrees on the lock stops as he came to outer zone 4, and for me, I thought he was going to spin the car. He just came off the throttle, balanced it, and somehow stayed in the fight. He actually approached it too much speed. I think he was caught out a little bit by the grip. I actually think he came into the first corner even with a little bit too much speed and had to dial on big angle towards the end of that outer zone just to kind of get himself back on track, but he does it expertly. You watch Heinenen's car just go surging forward here with very little rear end grip, fires through. He's on the edge of what's possible there, but he gets it back, and Correia's not close enough to be disturbed by it. So Heinonen, for me, doing a great job in that lead run. This is the bit everyone's being cautious on as they come in here. Look, it instantly goes super wet, super slippery. Heinonen does a good job, flexes into the wall, and as you said, using it as a little bit of a crutch to get him around the corner, bouncing off it like a pinball machine. And Correia, who doesn't do a very bad job here, he's still in the fight, does have work to do here in the lead position. He certainly does, Dave. I mean, he's in it, but he needs to really match the lead run there from Lauri Heinonen, who's done a fantastic job given the conditions, and Heinonen really growing into the championship and really becoming one of those guys that you expect nothing but perfection from every time he comes out on the circuit. Here we go, second half of this one, all to play for Correia now in the lead position. Heinonen in the chase, here we go. Nice entry there from Correia as he looks to try and overturn the disadvantage that he might have from that first run. Heinonen tucks himself in, gets himself ready for the ride here as he goes door to door with Diogo Correia. And Correia now switches back nicely, just gets himself a little bit up onto that curb, and you can see once again just how patchy it is. But Correia is struggling to get back onto the wide line as he takes it into the final section. Now he gets it up onto the wall, but Lauri Heinonen right there glued to him as they cross the line. Excellent stuff from Lauri Heinonen and Chase. And you know what? He wasn't as close in every section of the track, but to me, if you're looking at lead to lead, it definitely seemed like Lauri Heinonen had the much cleaner lead run. Diogo Correia just kind of hanging on a little bit in certain areas. And when it comes to the chase driving, well, it's just so sketchy, and everyone's just trying to survive and stay close to the car in front without making contact. This is where I think Correia starts to make a first mistake. He goes wide on that first corner, but he stays kind of on the inside of the track. Watch this, he goes on power, but he gets a little bit more grip than he thinks, and he misses that outer zone, pushing Lauri Heinonen to the inside of the track. And as he transitions back, Correia gets back on it, but Heinenen's kind of on the inside line here. And this is where proximity is great from Lauri Heinonen as he comes through here. Correia right out to the edge of the circuit. This is good stuff. Lauri Heinonen just staying with him. Not big angle, and Correia has a little bit of a bobble as well as he comes across that center section. So not the cleanest of lead runs from Diogo Correia, but what is a clean run under these conditions? Hard to say. Lauri Heinenen's front splitter is like, I am leaving the chat here at some point. I have been hit off everything today. Correia did good here on the last section as well, but he got to the outer zone very late. Outer zone 6, he only really got there halfway through the zone. So I think if it's going to come down to a decision, those 2 lead runs for me, just from my layman's approach, I think thinking about what the judges want from those, it looked to me like Lauri Heinonen, while he was on the edge of reason, he pulled it off a little bit better, I think. So let's see which way the judges go. Will it be Heinonen to go through to the Great 8 and keep his championship hopes alive, or will it be Diogo Correia? The decisions will drop in, and it's going to be an interesting one. Judges waiting for the call to drop in, and it is going to be Lauri Heinonen getting the win and going through to the Great 8. The championship hopes still very much alive. Go over to you, Kevin. We were thinking lead to lead. Lauri just looked a lot cleaner on that one.
Yeah, relatively clean cut for us here. Lauri definitely winning the leads. He was really on that qualifying line, and we were at the edge of our seat watching his entire lead run there, because we thought throughout the entire thing that he was going to go off the track, but he managed to maintain that pace the whole way throughout. Super clean lead line. Correia unfortunately couldn't match that at all. And then when you compare chase to chase as well, Lauri definitely having more flashes of proximity, especially when you consider that he had a worse lead line to follow. So overall, Heinonen definitely getting the win for both lead and chase.
There you have it, and he must be delighted, Becky, because he's still in the championship fight. The fans are behind him, and now he's into the Great 8. Lauri is with you on track.
Absolutely, Dave, and the Finnish fans are going absolutely wild. I have to say, Lauri, that was the cleanest 90-degree lock-stop angle I've seen all day. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was thanks to the new steering upgrade. So, yeah, I'm still learning, but seems good.
Can you give us a track update? We're seeing a bit of tyre smoke just out the back of clip 3, and then does it go to glass again as you come through 4?
Yeah, it's like full throttle to like ice. Like first corner entry line is slippery, then it's grip, then it's slippery again. So good luck.
Nice and easy then, yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Congratulations. We'll see you in the top 8. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Becky. So yeah, full throttle grip to ice. You know, just
Very casual, you know?
Very casual, you know, especially when you're doing 70 miles an hour. I'm sure that's absolutely
No
fantastic.
problem for a Finnish driver.
No problem for Lauri Heinonen as you go through. Let's see how our next 2 stack up. Duane McKeever still very much in the title hunt. He had a bad round with a mechanical failure in Finland, but he goes up against a very on-form youngster in Eryk Goczał, who has been taking everybody down in the last 2 rounds. He had a fantastic top 8 finish in Finland. Can he go to top 8 again here? The Polish youngster will not be afraid of Duane McKeever here, and McKeever, he needs this. This is what McKeever needs. He has to beat Goczał here, or else this championship could be slipping away from the Irish driver. So there's a lot of pressure on here. Eryk Goczał wants to turn the full weekend around from a crash to a podium, and Duane McKeever wants to get himself back in the conversation. This one is going to be fireworks.
Yeah, well, McKeever loses here, and he loses more ground to Lauri Heinonen. But what can he do here against Goczał? Well, Goczał in the lead position, fires it in on big angle, but he drops the wheel there. Can he hold it? No, just about. Goczał just about keeps that going, and McKeever stays pinned in, but gets tied up on the inside of the circuit now as Goczał goes wide again. 1, possibly 2 wheels off as he throws that car up onto the curb, and McKeever, hard to predict what's going to happen in front of him, doing a great job just to stay in the fight here, just keep that car going. Such an unpredictable lead line from Goczał, but Goczał spins it, Dave.
Yeah, it kind of just didn't go wrong. It just didn't go right from the start. And from my perspective, he'd almost been flirting with an incomplete right throughout the run. It looked like every single corner, Eryk Goczał was just not comfortable with the conditions and got caught out quite a bit, and that could be experienced too. First corner comes in too fast, drops a wheel in the dirt, and then McKeever's on the handbrake here trying to slow down. Goczał almost spins it off here at the end of the first corner. To me, he's way off the track, flirting with an incomplete. Then he almost over-rotates at this point as he transitions through, and then you think that all the danger is over. No, he almost goes off the track again, and McKeever is trying to adapt again in the chase position to whatever Eryk is doing, and Eryk is just getting caught out by the conditions. Every time he tries to go on throttle, it's either too much grip or too little grip, and as he transitions back here, he does a big slam into the wall here with the rear end of that BMW and just kind of almost steadies himself, and then he's kind of survived it all until here, and then just puts too much throttle down and over-rotates, hits the wall, and McKeever takes takes a breath and says, okay, let's just call that one that it's over and we'll go back to the start line, because nothing quite right about that whole run. But a big advantage to Duane McKeever. He did what he had to do. He stayed back, stayed out of trouble. But now, as I said, when we saw Duane McKeever in the top 32, he spun out in his lead run, so he's got to correct those mistakes.
Correct those mistakes is right, Dave, but you know what? I think he's learned enough from that top 32 battle against Zalewski that he knows now where the grip is and where it isn't. But can he make a clean pass of the circuit here and see himself into the top 8? It's exactly what he needs to keep his championship hopes alive, and he's been given a huge lifeline here from Goczał, who's just made those huge mistakes. Not the cleanest lead run here from Duane so far, but avoiding the big errors that Goczał was making. He just needs to keep this one on circuit, and that's exactly what he's doing. No flamboyance, no fireworks, just sensible driving here from McKeever. Goczał trying to apply the pressure now in that chase position, but you can just see fighting that car as McKeever takes the wing to the wall and just takes it across the line safely, doing exactly, Dave, what he needed to do.
Yeah, I think what you're looking at here is, you know, an up-and-comer with Eryk Goczał. He's got all the talent. He's going to be a huge star in this championship, but he's been outdone by McKeever due to sheer experience. McKeever knows that it was all, I mean, he's shaking his head, but he didn't make any major mistakes there. And Eryk Goczał, with that spin out, just gave himself no fighting chance of staying in the game. And I think Duane McKeever knew when he came into that second run, that lead run, it wasn't going to be the prettiest of lead runs, but it was going to be enough to get the win. And I think just not going off the track or spinning was enough for Duane there to carry him into the top 8. Eryk Goczał doing everything he could in the chase position to try and force the issue, and it was a really good chase run, very aggressive, but he had a lot more to work with McKeever on that correct line, as opposed to Eryk, who was just making those waivers.
So nice in-car footage there of Duane McKeever. You can just see how hard he's having to work behind the wheel to keep this car on angle and get it around this circuit.
Yeah, they're going to be tired tonight because there's a lot of work.
Be exhausted,
there's a lot of work going on, a lot of steering, a lot of handbrake. You know, it's almost twice the adjustments as you would in the dry. And again, what I'm noticing here is it's getting drier and drier. You can see McKeever having to double or treble handbrake in that last zone because it's starting to dry out. He expected to float in there, but it didn't float the way he wanted it to.
And mentally, Dave, this is far tougher than what it would normally be for these guys. You know, obviously it's extremely difficult as it is in the dry, but there's so much more to think about now.
Absolutely, and the track drying quite rapidly as well because the temperature quite high here. But it's going to be a decision in for Eryk Goczał and Duane McKeever to see who goes through to the top 8. And it's been a war of attrition for both of these guys, not having the easiest weekend so far, but a top 8 finish would be fantastic. The judges having a good discussion on this one. And they're having a quick look at Duane McKeever's car. I'm not sure, did it go on fire there while I was waiting for the result? It definitely was an extinguisher brought out. Going on fire in the rain. It goes to show what sort of a weekend we're having, right? So they're having a look at Duane McKeever's car just to see if everything is okay, and that's going to be worrying for the McKeever team. And he points and looks like a very casual, a bit of oil got on that, and it's fine. Don't worry about it. I love the it's on fire, but don't worry about it approach from Duane McKeever. That's a classic drift phrase there. Oh no, I know what the fire is. It's fine. You don't need to worry about it. Casual fire. Decisions are in though. Going to the top 8 is Duane McKeever getting the win. Duane McKeever gets the win and goes through, and he'll be happy with that one. Eryk Goczał, give him a big round of applause, because I'll tell you one thing, that kid has come from a 70-mile-an-hour crash all the way to the top 16, and I'm really happy to see the smiles at the end of the weekend, a positive finish. And I'm sure Becky is down with Duane McKeever on track. He is also still in the championship fight, Becky. Business as usual for McKeever.
Absolutely business as usual. Looking very composed out there, Duane, in your fresh new suit. I have noticed this. How was that dancing on the pedals? Because I imagine there's a lot of clutch work going on to keep that car on a nice, smooth line.
So, like, literally before that run, I was told it was wet, but I know in the meantime that it started drying up. So this track dries up so quick. The smallest bit of rain ever, it gets wet. So it was so hard trying to manage that and trying to read the tarmac ahead to see if it was dry or patchy. And there's some parts that are like even like concrete, and you can't even see if it's wet or dry, so it is so tricky. But we've advanced through on now, and hopefully for the rest of the competition we can have a full dry event.
Absolutely. And are you still looking to take that top spot in Drift Masters? I can imagine you're getting a little bit more confident now as those points start to stack up midway through the season.
Last round for us was very bad, but hopefully we can make it up this weekend. But sure, there's a load of drivers here and we all want that top spot. That's the main reason why we're here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Duane. Congratulations, guys.
Thanks, Becky. I'll tell you one thing, he should be confident because the car is working, and in these conditions, I think he's got that experience of being able to adapt to, you know, the patchy conditions. And I love what he said there was he's reading the road ahead of him, saying, I wonder if it's slippery or dry. Well, I think it's getting worse now, because what we have is almost a dry track with just some patches of areas that are really wet. And that is going to not be good news for Conor Shanahan, who now sits top of the championship table. He needs to win in this battle against Juha Pöytälaakso, because Lauri Heinonen and Duane McKeever all climbing points on Conor Shanahan right now. This is big pressure on young shoulders, and Juha, with the experience here, sitting that menacing 2 car lengths back at the start line, knowing he wants to get a run in, and he's looking a lot more confident here than he was in the 32. He's going to be attacking Conor Shanahan from the off. The Finnish driver wants a big trophy in European drifting. He hasn't had one in a while, and Conor Shanahan wants to continue his run of form. Here we go.
Yeah, for Pöytälaakso, now's your opportunity. You take down Conor Shanahan here in the top 16, and you're the big name. You're the guy to beat here this weekend. But Conor Shanahan opened up a huge gap here so far early on in this first run here. But Pöytälaakso now, as he tries to reel him back in and close that gap. But Shanahan on a really nice line here. Pöytälaakso getting stuck in the inside line, midline through that section as he comes up onto the curb, and Shanahan now starts to tidy it up. But just as he does, Dave, you can see that car shooting forward as it grabs a bit of grip, hits the wall and unsettles the run as well. As you can just see how treacherous it is. Exactly what Duane McKeever was talking about.
Yeah, it's not pretty out there, and there's no way of driving it pretty because you can't predict it. You can see Conor Shanahan, he made a move that I'm not sure the judges will be 100% happy with. Was he handbraked into the most difficult part of the track, just decided not to even deal with it and just handbrake through it, hoping that Juha would make a bigger mistake behind him. But Juha kind of stayed in the fight. He didn't have much proximity, but again, not the perfect lead run, not the perfect chase run. Shanahan making errors. You see this on the entry. He handbrakes a couple of times to try and stay wide, Shanahan, but he just can't. Juha's on the inside of the track, which is exactly where he doesn't want to be. And as they transition back here, watch this as they go to the outside zone. Juha pulls in, but Shanahan has a little wobble there, straightens, and then this, watch the back wheels of Shanahan's car. He handbrakes right through that, causing Juha to dive up in a very unusual fashion. And the judges will say that's a full, throttled part of the track, and he takes that a little bit safer. And then watch, he expects the car to float out here, Shanahan. It doesn't, it grips, and then you get all this slippiness, and he hits the wall. So that lead run, not perfect from Conor Shanahan, and Juha making some mistakes in the chase position, but I think he hadn't the best of lead runs to follow there.
Yeah, inclined to agree with you, Dave. A lot of errors on both ends, but some of those errors in the chase position perhaps caused by Conor Shanahan. Certainly not the early ones, maybe, though, in that first initiation
No,
zone.
certainly on initiation it was Juha's mistake, and again the judges are going to look at all this and say there was mistakes both sides there. There was nothing super clean about it, but just from that lead position, Conor Shanahan will have work to do here, and I don't think he'll go into this thinking he has it in the bag, which means he's got to go chase Juha Rintanen. He's got to go in there as hard and fast as he can, and he's got to put in a good run. One thing Juha didn't have was a lot of proximity. That's where Conor Shanahan can make up the difference here, and Juha, he's fast around here, he's very solid, and Juha cannot afford any mistakes. It is so knife edge here in the top 16 in round 4 of the Drift Masters European Championship, and the championship very much on the line as Conor Shanahan, who currently leads it, is now sitting with maybe a deficit from the first half of his top 16 battle. He has to turn it up here.
Yeah, well, Lauri Heinonen really applying the pressure onto Conor Shanahan. Every time he makes a move, he's moving himself into the next round of stage of competition, and Conor Shanahan then has to follow that to try and maintain his gap in the championship. That 12-point lead, ever so slight at this stage of competition now. Pöytälaakso leaves the line. Can he find that perfect lead run that would secure him a spot in the Great 8? Well, we are about to find out here as he shallows up once again. They're just not able to keep on that wide line. Shanahan now tucks in as he tries to find the proximity and keep himself in the fight. Forced a mistake from the Finnish driver, but Pöytälaakso now just again not able to find a perfect line to give Conor Shanahan that opportunity to chase a perfect lead run, as Pöytälaakso gets caught up with the wall as well, Dave, and it's a game of bumper cars out there. Just so tricky right now for these guys.
I think Pöytälaakso was going to spin, and then Conor Shanahan got him going again. He was almost over-rotating. I mean, whatever about Conor Shanahan's poor lead run, I think Juha's was almost poorer. I think he gave Conor nothing to work with there. That first corner, he was super shallow, and that wall run at the end was probably the biggest mistake over the 2 runs. Watch this, Juha goes in expecting the car to wash in the rain. It doesn't, and now he's right on the inside of the track, almost flirting with that inside white line, which is the wrong line as he comes through there. As they transition back, Conor Shanahan had great proximity, to be fair to him, through this section of the course. Juha deciding also not to go anywhere near the outside of the track there, just kind of staying off that outer zone. As he comes up a little bit shallow here, just barely touching a wheel into that zone. And as they transition back, I think it's this last wall run for me. Juha goes very deep into that wall. And as it comes through here, Conor trying to adapt in the chase position. Juha gets onto the slippery white line. And watch this, the back end of the car almost goes. This looks like it's going to be an over-rotation. Hits the wall, hits Shanahan, and sort of sends him back going again. but it's a lot of hits with the wall, heavy hits too, as they bumper cars, like you said, Eddie, across the line. Not much left to the back end of these cars.
No, certainly not. And you know, when you try and compare this lead to lead, chase to chase, I mean, neither driver giving the chase driver much to work with here. So
no, let's see which way the judges go. Yeah, it's going to be Conor Shanahan getting the win, and I don't think he would have been overly confident about that going his way. Quickly over to you, Kevin, just for a moment. That was a messy lead and chase both sides.
Yeah, it was very messy. I think I have a list as long as my arm here of mistakes in the lead run by both drivers. But I think when you compare lead to lead and chase to chase, I think Conor had a very slightly better lead run. But for me, it all comes down to the chasing. And you could see that Conor had more proximity throughout the track, and he was dealing with Juha's mistakes better in that chase position overall. And for me, anyway, that was the defining factor of the battle anyway, and he was able to take the win just about. But so many mistakes here in these messy conditions.
Thanks, Kevin. And of course, down on track with Conor Shanahan is Becky Evans. Becky, he is still your championship leader and still in the fight.
He absolutely is, Dave. But I think this track is really testing our drivers today because, Conor, I just asked you how was that, and you said impossible.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Hardest conditions I've ever driven, to be honest. Like dry, wet. I entered in the wrong gear in my lead run because I thought it was still a little bit more wet than it was, but my spotter gave me the most information possible, but to be honest, that was by far the hardest 2 runs I've ever done in that car. It was almost like close and not knowing what I'm going to do anywhere, but gladly we got through. I knew my lead run wasn't the best, but I also knew that he wasn't going to do the best lead run because it's honestly not possible. If somebody can go around there right now the way it is and bang in a 90-point run, they deserve to win this whole championship. But yeah, it's intense out there. I gave Jack as much information as I could on the radio after the run to try get him to understand the track before he leaves the starting line, and let's hope we put on another Shanahan show in the top 8.
Explain what it's like for a driver. I mean, I know when you come to a wet track, you're trying to decide which gear is going to be the right gear, and if you have too much wheel speed, you're going to come flying, or if it's not enough, you could grip up and straighten. What was that decision like for you?
Yeah, we left the full wet setup on the car, which it's kind of hard to know if that was the right decision or not. In the rain, we're entering in 3rd, whereas in the dry, you need to enter in 4th to carry the momentum. So yeah, I entered in 3rd there, and I was on the limiter loads, had to use loads of left foot to try get it to work to extend outer zone 1 into outer zone 2, but that was nerve-wracking. I honestly thought the championship hosts were gone there for a second. It was tough, but back in the game, and top 8 finish no matter what, decent points, but let's hope the track dries up and we can put on a show for everybody here.
Good luck in your next battle. Congratulations, Conor. Guys.
Thanks, Becky. You keep interviewing them because we keep slowing it down. It means we're getting closer to a dry track. That's the kind of the tactic we're going to try to go with here. And of course, as you said, Conor Shanahan saying, I needed to give information to my brother because his brother is up on the start line and he is up against a very steely competitor in Marco Zakouřil. And of course, what information? I mean, how long is that radio message to tell you what way the track is, because they're both running identical cars, but Conor looked very unsure of that. It was almost a lucky win there that you had just couldn't put it together more. And now Jack Shanahan will go up against Marco Zakouřil, and Zakouřil's been looking super strong. The Czech driver, always a steely competitor here in Riga. He's been on fire more times than he hasn't, and he's been on the podium here before as well. So can Zakouřil take down Jack Shanahan? It is a very impossible track. That's the word you heard from Conor Shanahan. Impossible to be perfect. So it's all about who makes the bigger mistake. That's what we're going to see here, Eddie. And it takes a lot of deciphering for us and the fans at home and here in attendance to try and work that one out like the judges have to. Here we go. Jack Shanahan in the lead. Marco Zakouřil in the chase. It is for a spot in the top 8, and Jack Shanahan fires in early.
Yeah, Shanahan coming for it here. A spot up for grabs against his brother in the top 8 if he can get himself through. Looks to be no issues with the clutch from the top 32 for Shanahan. The team seem to have got that sorted, but Shanahan once again flirting with that curb, going wild, very wide out through that section of the circuit. Zakouřil now, as he tries to find some proximity, bringing the fight here towards the latter stages of the run, as Shanahan gets up close and personal with the wall, but makes it work, David. Here comes Zakouřil through the final sections of the circuit, and across the line they go.
Yeah, it's all well and good, you know, tapping off the wall like Jack Shanahan is, but because the GT86 has so little rear overhang, you can be doing suspension and tire damage there if you get too close. You got way too close to the wall. And you can see the shake of the head from Jack Shanahan in the car, says he's not happy with that lead run. There was some errors. He was flirting with 2 wheels off the track. I think he just barely kept it on, but Zakouřil very much on the inside of the track here in the replay as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, Zakouřil almost fully in that inside box.
Does he put 2 wheels on the inside of that first corner? Is a big question mark there as well. This is where Shanahan goes really wide. Watch that rear tire. just about stays, like on the edge of putting two wheels off there, but probably just gets away with it.
Yeah, just about holding on there, and Zakouřil just, coming in, flies in behind and manages to keep that car on circuit. But Jack, again, very lucky on that curb, just managing to avoid that wheel dropping down into the dirt. And of course, two wheels onto the curb, no problem, just a small deduction, but over and into the gravel, a zero or an incomplete.
Yeah, let's have look at the rear tire. It just looks to me that tire just about stayed on the circuit. Zakouřil, though, having to make a big, big adjustment there to try and stay on track and not over-rotate. So I think that's going to count towards Zakouřil in that particular part of the track, where Zakouřil had a poor start. He started to make up the difference. And look at Jack Shanahan, big hit with the wall there, has a big steering correction, and then throws it, and another one here as he goes into the wall. A little bit better there, stays on angle, but we've seen every driver bounce off that wall. There seems to be absolutely no grip there whatsoever. And look how much carnage there is on track. Every car absolutely destroyed. They only look good from the furthest camera away on the track right now, because up close they are all in tatters. So we will turn them around. It will be Marco Zakouřil. I'm not sure if you're going to buff that out, Marcin, on the start line. I think a little bit of the tape needs to go. There we go. Here comes the silver tape. Load-bearing tape from Marcin, trying to keep all these cars together, and he's going through more rolls. We needed a tape sponsor down there on the start line, because he's gone through more rolls in the last 2 rounds than I've ever seen in Drift Masters before. This is just to make sure the bodywork stays on the car, and of course with the bodywork wet, this is not easy either. And yeah, I think you can keep taping that all day, Marcin. It's not going to make much odds, right?
I think the expert level of masking tape ability of Marcin, it belongs on his CV, Dave. He's that gifted with it, but you know what? We got the second half of this one to go. Zakouřil just trying to calm himself, prepare himself. He's in the zone, he's in the game.
Yeah, he's gonna be feeling confident here, because I'll tell you one thing, he knows Shanahan's made big errors in front of him. He watched him go off the track, he's watched him make mistakes, so Jack Shanahan throws his hands in the air, and right now Jack Shanahan thinks he's not in the game here, which means we're going to get an aggressive chase run, which I always like, Eddie, because when Jack Shanahan's angry and his car is full of tape, you're pretty much ready to start the highlight reel, right? Because he's going to go in there and know that unless he puts in phenomenal proximity here, Zakouřil is going to take the win.
Yeah, and he's going to go hard here. He's going to go aggressive. When you see him throwing his hands up and shaking his head like that, you know he's definitely feeling as if he could have done more on that lead run. And I think Zakouřil's car, which has already taken a beating throughout this competition, is about to take one hell of a bit more of a beating as Jack Shanahan comes in behind them here. It's all to play for here. He's watched his brother make it into the top 8. He's watched the rest of the top 4 make it into the top 8, or the top 3 make it into the top 8, rather. Can he do the same here? So here we go, second half of this one. Zakouřil to lead them in. Shanahan, an angry Shanahan to give chase here. Here we go.
Oh, the entry from Shanahan is ridiculous. He entered way before Zakouřil there, and that was a dangerous move from Jack Shanahan, but he's pulled it off. Smoke starting to appear on the track now. Zakouřil has a lot more pace than Shanahan here through the course, but he's missing a lot of zones. This is a messy one from both of these drivers, and Zakouřil just up on the curb. Shanahan with a late dive. It's very sloppy, very messy, but Shanahan has got the proximity as they come around the last corner. Zakouřil up onto the door goes Jack Shanahan, pushing Zakouřil across the line. It is a scrappy one.
A scrappy one, Dave, but for me, Shanahan just picks his moment to make his attack, does so right at the end, and Zakouřil, you know what, doing everything he can out in that lead position, but Shanahan just finding the proximity towards the end, and I'm wondering, will that be enough to seal his fate and seal his spot in the top 8 for him?
Well, yeah, but at the start of the run, Zakouřil had all the pace, and Shanahan entered early, and he just couldn't catch Zakouřil through the center section. No, Zakouřil was missing some of those zones. Do the judges want them, dropping wheels, or do they want them on the inside of the track? Which way are they going to go with that? I think this is going to be a long discussion for the judges here. But Marco Zakouřil and Jack Shanahan, look at Shanahan's entry. He entered like an hour and a half before Zakouřil even thought about it, and it made it work. But Zakouřil was right to the edge of the track here. But look at the pace he picks up when it's dry here, as Jack Shanahan just doesn't have the go in that car to try and catch Zakouřil through there. But Zakouřil misses the outer zone completely, not taking a risk there. A lot of handbrake from Jack Shanahan just to keep that car on angle. I don't think Jack Shanahan is going to be 100% happy with this, but is there a run out there for any driver that they're 100% happy with at this point? It's all kind of survival, right?
Yeah, well, look, Jack Shanahan hasn't really been 100% happy with his driving throughout this campaign, and, I think it's a little bit harsh to, beat yourself up over any type of run that you can put in on these conditions, because just getting around the circuit is superhuman as far as I'm concerned, and, these guys, they're fighting the most difficult conditions that they've had all year long, but they're making it work, they're making it.
Yeah, how Zakouřil doesn't over-rotate here is also, look, he's on the exact edge of spinning out, and he stays in it and somehow makes it work. Zakouřil doing a great job. You can see the Czech fans happy with Zakouřil's performance. The Irish fans happy with Jack Shanahan's, but we don't know which way the judges are going to go in this one. It was a survival mode run for both of these drivers. Nothing special, nothing too sweet as what we're expecting, but there is a decision to come in, and that decision is going to be a split decision. It's a one more time. Marco Zakouřil gets one call, two calls for one more time. And I got to run it back to you, Kevin O'Connell. You guys having arguments up there? We're having enough arguments on the track.
I know, Dave, I know. And again, another list as long as my arm with so many mistakes from both drivers. I think Jack having a better first half for his lead run, Marco having a better second half, both of them dropping wheels. I'm trying to look down at my notes here to pick them out here, but so, like, there is just a million mistakes for that. I think if you compare chase to chase, Marco had flashes of brilliance, but also massive mistakes. Jack had flashes of brilliance, but massive mistakes as well. We really just need to see a clean winner overall, and we have to see him go one more time.
Well, they are going one more time, and before they do, Becky is down with Marco Zakouřil. Becky, that looks sketchy from the outside. I can only imagine what it was like from the inside.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Again, I ask another driver, how is it out there? And their first word is sketchy. We saw you on the edge of the lock stops there. Did you think for a second it was about to over-rotate?
Yeah, I'm very afraid, but I think those conditions is even worse than when the track was completely wet. We trying to do the best, but we cannot talk to our weather, so that it is.
So you're going for a one more tie with Jack. He's a brilliant driver. Are you going to give it your all for the next run?
Yeah, we will try to push more than in first run. Hopefully we will make it. Thank you.
Absolutely, Marco. See you at the next time. See you at the next time, see you at the one more time.
Yeah, well, we will see him at it one more time indeed, because they're going back at it again, and a lot learned, I think, from Marco Zakouřil and Jack Shanahan there. And I think the longer it goes, we now have the sun on the track for the first time today, which means this track is going to dry rapidly. And it's not the news you want to hear if you're Naoki Nakamura or Michael Reichert, because it's getting drier and drier, patchier and patchier, and no one's had any practice, only full wet today. This is going to be two crazy drivers heading into a 75-mile-an-hour corner with absolutely no iota of what's going to happen next. We've all got to hold our breath and sit back. It's the Czech Republic against Japan, as Naoki Nakamura, the lower qualifier, will sit into the chase position. And it's been working for him from this position, Eddie. This is where you actually want to be. The higher qualifier actually has the disadvantage because you're the first to go into that corner.
That's exactly it, Dave. And Nakamura's been making it work here this weekend in the battles. That's where he's come alive. But Reichert now in the lead position. Can he find something special? We've talked about the track conditions. It's got to get worse before it's going to get better. But with that little drop of sunshine, we should start seeing that track drying out nicely and maybe start to see a little bit more smoke appear from the rear end of these awesome machines. As Reichert now sends it in, as he straightens up a little bit though, as Nakamura dials on the angle in the chase position, applying the proximity, but Reichert just not able to get onto that wide line, going very wide, now dropping up onto the curb there. Huge error from Reichert in the lead position, and Nakamura just trying to pick his moments here to pounce and to formulate his attack. And they make it across the line, but certainly from Reichert's point of view, Dave, not the lead run he was hoping for there.
No, it looked like it, to be honest, he was going to go off the track and spin, and he actually managed to keep it going. But Nakamura, again, not over-risking, which I think is a clever way to approach that chase position, especially before you don't know if it's enough. You don't need to over-commit yourself that you're going to knock. Do something you can't come back from. Reichert fires into that first corner. Looks like he just gets it a little wide here, but it's not bad. He's on the edge of the track here. He drops out of that outer zone, but a little bit of a straight, and I think he expected the car to wash far more than it did, and he just got a lot of grip there as Nakamura fires down the inside. This is good proximity from Nakamura playing with Reichert. Reichert completely misses the outer zone, doesn't even go anywhere near it, which is a huge deduction from the judges because he's taking no risk. And you can see Nakamura just using the handbrake just to transition that car, and this is Reichert's biggest mistake. He goes way over, and it looks to me like he puts two wheels off. It may not be two wheels off. We may have another look, and the judge is saying to me it was only one wheel off the track. So Reichert, even though he only puts one wheel off the track, it's a huge deduction. So Nakamura, not the perfect position here. You can actually start to see that dry line. Look at that, a little bit of smoke getting kicked up on that last corner. The sun is shining, but here's the interesting part, Eddie. We talked about it in the break between ourselves, that the shade of the trees through that first corner as opposed to the sunlight now beaming down on half the course, it even makes it more sketchy.
Yeah, well, that's it. Just every...
is there any more...
Even a ray of sunshine, Dave, just doesn't fully take away the dangers and, just the absolute treacherous conditions that we have faced here. It's, look, I think we could be faced with a patchy track right up into maybe the final four. Let's just hope that there's no more drops of rain and that the track starts to get a little bit more predictable for these guys, because right now it's just almost undrivable for them.
Yeah, you can see there from the opposite angle, Michael Reichert doesn't drop two wheels into the dirt, but of course that's why we have the drone angles, that's why we have the multiple angles, and of course the judges have an EVS system, which means they can look at whatever they want, inside, outside the car, whenever they want, and they are happy that Reichert did not incomplete, but he is at a deduction, and can Nakamura put a clean lead run in? We haven't seen a clean lead run today, so let's hope this is one of them.
Yeah, I think it's just about making it as tidy as possible, as Nakamura now opens up a bit of a gap here over Michael Reichert as they make their way through. And just again, Reichert just, racking up those errors way offline there. Nakamura, though, big straighten from Nakamura and almost contact, Dave. Would you believe it? Both drivers way offline. Nakamura gets up on the curb, car shoots forward. Reichert's on the opposite side of the track. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah,
this is just so unpredictable.
Nakamura's going to see Michael Reichert in front of him as he finishes the run here and say, I'm not sure what happened, and Reichert got back going again, but that was a weird one. So it looked to me like Nakamura went way too wide, got on the slippy stuff, and he couldn't bring the car back around again, but he didn't realize Michael Reichert was somehow on the inside of the track when he did it. So we're going to have a look at that one in the replay. I've never seen anything quite like that in Riga before, where two drivers on two different trajectories, they almost had a head-on collision halfway through the track. Oh, drifting. You think you've seen it all, and then all of a sudden you've Nakamura and Reichert crashing head-on nearly halfway through the track, which doesn't make any sense. But two wild drivers, two ambassadors of the sport, and you can see Nakamura saying to Reichert, I have no idea what's happened, you have no idea what happened. So let's see, look, Nakamura came through like a rocket ship, but watch this, handbrakes, goes way too wide, has to back off completely here, slows down, drives pretty straight, and then all of a sudden goes to the left, and Reichert's like, oh no, and it's a collision between the two on that side of the track. It is, look at this, Nakamura comes up on the curb, he loses control, that two wheels off has to be, the front wheel is off as well, and then he comes across the track and smashes into Reichert, who's not expecting the Japanese driver to come back on at that trajectory. Oh, that's
one of the craziest crashes I think I've seen in drifting. It's just mind-boggling how both drivers ended up crashing over at that section of the circuit.
There's definitely going to be a photo. There's going to be a photo. I'm thinking in this one, so it's going to very much dictate the decision. And here we go, it's for a spot in the top 8. Michael Reichert gets the win, and Reichert beats Nakamura here in the top 16. Quickly back to you, Kevin. Yeah, two wheels off. Haven't seen a front wheel off on that zone before.
No, and nor have I seen a front wheel off in that zone either, Dave, but that's what it all comes down to. It's an incomplete from Nakamura, unfortunately, and that dictates overall, because while Reichert had a very, very scrappy lead run on his lead as well, he didn't do anything that constituted as an incomplete, unfortunately, so it all comes down to that two wheels off by Nakamura. Could you actually write it, Dave?
The front wheel off for me now is just one. The shoot across the track, and Reichert's like, what's happening? And now Reichert's lifting up Nakamura and saying, stop hitting me on the track in future. And Michael Reichert delighted. I'm pretty sure he's not going to know why he's won it, how he's won it, and he's not going to care either.
You know what? It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter anymore, because we go back to the start line. It's the last battle of our top 16. Benediktas Čirba goes up against the championship contender of Juha Rintanen. Rintanen had to go one more time against Jakob Krull and just about got the job done in the 32. He's got to be much stronger here to go up against Benediktas Čirba, who's in form.
Yeah, Čirba growing in confidence in this competition as well here as well. So for Juha Rintanen, we want to keep those championship hopes alive, and he's getting himself ready, getting himself psyched up. You can just see him punching that steering wheel and just getting himself into the zone. He knows he's got to be good against Čirba. Čirba's so fast around this circuit, but Dave, we've talked about it. There's no use being fast if you can't control the pace through the circuit in these treacherous conditions that we're seeing. The lights are on.
Well, is anyone home?
Well, we're about to find out.
Is anyone going to get around the track and actually get a clean run? Čirba's in the lead. Juha Rintanen in the chase position. Track drying rapidly here in Riga as Čirba throws in very early, very fast. Can he hold it? He just about holds it. No, he doesn't. Čirba goes off the track. Expects there to be far more grip than there is, and Rintanen makes an evasive move to get out of the way. And now Čirba hits that slippy patch in the middle. It's getting drier as we go. But this is another sketchy part for Čirba as he just about gets away. Rintanen just trying to stay out of trouble, keep his nose clean as they come into this last section. section, but Rintanen's almost over-rotated. Čirba's in the wall. Someone's got to finish a run here, and they do, but it looks to me like Čirba has made the bigger errors.
Yeah, huge errors there from Čirba. Big impact with the wall there through the final section, Dave. And we also saw almost, I mean, did he manage to keep that car on circuit? I mean, definitely a couple of wheels off at the end of outside zone 1. If we take a look back at
Well,
the
have a look at the back of it here. It's, you know, it looked to me that he came in just way too fast. It's not that dry yet. And as he gets here, he's way over. And it looks to me like that rear wheel really flirting with the grass there. He's definitely got one way in the grass, and then that rear wheel. And it's weird because when you see the opposite angles, you think they're much deeper into these zones than they are. But look at this. Rintanen just says, I'm just going to stay out of trouble here and stay back in this one. A lot of lockups from the front wheels in Rintanen's as Čirba now goes to the outside track. This is a good move from Čirba. He almost overdoes it, but he catches it himself again. And I'm thinking at this point, look at Juha in the chase position, goes on throttle, almost hooks that. He's on 90 degrees there, but Čirba goes into the wall and makes the bigger error. So both of these guys not having the perfect run. Rintanen making less errors, but Čirba now in the chase position. I mean, there's absolutely, it would be nonsense for us to say at this point that it's over after one run, but we have got 2 wheels off the circuit from Benediktas Čirba at outer zone 1, which means an incomplete for Čirba at the end of outer zone 1. He actually put 2 wheels into the grass or the gravel or the muck or whatever is left of it up there, probably digging about a foot deep at this stage up there, and Rintanen will take the advantage. However, he's in the lead position, and we've watched Rintanen over-rotate in certain areas of this track already today. And we're going to leave all the Čirba fighter to go out there and take on Rintanen. And the tape is back out again. Just taping the whole car. The whole back of the car, it's just one mass ball of tape.
Yeah, the tape fighter is going to be called now for this next half of the
I thought Kevlar was pretty strong, but this silver tape seems to be something NASA have cooked up, that it's that strong that it can hold.
I think what you're going to start seeing is body panels made from the tape.
I would think that's the next thing. And they've got the kitchen roll out now.
Oh yeah.
Just give it a little wipe down.
One sheet does plenty.
Yeah, and you can see the tape doing absolutely nothing there on the back of it. But I like the effort. I like he's thinking about it. And Juha Rintanen sitting there going, if you wouldn't mind putting your car back together, Benediktas, we'd like to get this battle underway because my tyres are cooling down. As you can see, the sun's starting to come through the trees here now in Riga. We're getting a little bit of sunshine in the grandstands as well. It is going to be a mighty finale because we've now got some good weather. However, we still have some patchy moments on the track. The Finnish fans are ready for this one. Juha Rintanen sits with a big advantage here, but can he get the job done? Can he go to the top 8? Well, he's got the whole of the grandstand behind him here, and also Benediktas Čirba with a big following from Lithuania in that grandstand as well. Let's hear some cheers for both of these guys as they come off the line. Marston is still taping away there at the back of the car, and he's given up on it now. Half the car is just tape. It's amazing to think you put so much time.
Preventative maintenance, I'd like to call it.
It's load-bearing tape is what we have on the back of that car. So here we go. Juha Rintanen in the lead position. Čirba in the chase. Čirba has to turn it all around here to stay in the fight.
He certainly does, Dave. He needs to force an error here from the chase position. He's going very aggressive right from the off here, but Juha Rintanen, was there contact there? I don't know. They certainly got very close. Juha came offline now, gets back into it. Can Čirba settle himself? Seems a little bit losing ground here. Big angle now, as you can start to see the drivers growing in confidence in the conditions out in the circuit now as it becomes that little bit more drivable, I feel. But Juha now just getting that line a little bit wrong. You can see a lot of drivers making that error, catching the wall there, just getting a little bit unsettled.
No, I wouldn't want to be a judge. I mean, Juha Rintanen straightens through the first corner. I'm not sure how bad a straighten it is. The judges will have a look at that. And then at the end, he almost over-rotates again. That section seems to be very tricky for that GR86. Every time he goes in there, it wasn't for the wall, he would have spun that car. So the judges are going to watch that. Look at this on the first corner. He expects the car to just wash. It doesn't, and the car straightens. Čirba just tries to stay out of trouble, and you can see a reinitiation from Juha Rintanen there to get back on angle again. They keep their nose clean through the section, this center section. I'll tell you what, it looks very tough to, it looks like a Formula 1 race. You can see that dry line in the middle of the track. And this is, for me, again, Rintanen to that last wall. Every time he goes from, the dry to the wet there, it looks like he's going to lose the back end of the car. And only he hits the wall so aggressively, he actually keeps that car in drift. He might have saved himself with that. But let's see which way the judges are going to go. It's for a spot in the top 8. Juha Rintanen gets the win and goes through to the top 8. The championship still very much alive. And Juha Rintanen, you know what? He's hanging on in there. Becky is down on the track. Oh, we'll get back to Becky in a moment. Juha Rintanen getting back in the car there. And there you have it. It is going to be Juha Rintanen. All the championship contenders still in it, but not in the most interesting way. And we go back to the one more time here of Jack Shanahan and Marco Zakouřil. Marco Zakouřil and Jack Shanahan couldn't be separated, Eddie. As Kevin said, too many mistakes. And I'm likely to agree, there was a lot of mistakes.
There was a lot of mistakes.
There wasn't even much left at the back of end of any car here. Zakouřil's car is mostly tape. Shanahan just left the back of his car somewhere else in the pits. He says, no point in even bringing it out anymore.
The problem these two guys have, though, Dave, is everything that they learned on the last pass of the circuit is now out the window, because this track is completely different than it was 10 minutes ago when they were out on the circuit.
Yeah, there's going to be spotters on the radio here saying there's smoke starting to be kicked up, and of course that first corner, you saw Juha Rintanen get caught out by it, try to let the car wash through. All of a sudden there was a ton of grip and he had to reinitiate, and it just about got away with it on that one. But both of these guys will now have to be a little bit more brave coming in there with full throttle, because if they don't go in there on full throttle, they're going to straighten up. Let's see what happens as Shanahan goes through the gears. Look at Zakouřil right on the back bumper. Very early initiation from Jack Shanahan. Again, getting caught by the grip levels out there. So does Marco Zakouřil on the inside of the track. And Marco Zakouřil makes a big dive and a big mistake from Zakouřil as he over-rotates the car. But Shanahan misses the outer zone. Back on the mistake train again we go as Shanahan now fires through. Marco Zakouřil with a very late dive out there. Shanahan going to the wall here. This is where it gets really slippy towards the end. And Zakouřil now having a little bit of trouble. He's almost overtaking Shanahan. Shanahan almost comes to a stop. How do you decide it?
It's really hard to know, Dave, if those conditions are just getting that little bit more drivable or if the drivers are just adapting so much better to them. Incredible stuff there.
I tried to say so many things there in the shortest amount of time, because that's how much was going on.
Do you know what? I've actually never seen battles where so much is happening independently of and things that you wouldn't be used to seeing happen. It's very difficult to try and wrap your mind around it. I can't imagine what it's like trying to find muscle memory inside the cockpit of one of these vehicles as they try and negotiate this. It's just incredible.
Yeah, well, you see Zakouřil making the big surges and the big dives, but making big errors doing it. Look at this, a huge dive from Zakouřil here as they come up onto the wall. This is incredible stuff. Shanahan goes in, and then all of a sudden there's no grip again, and he's trying to get the car going again. Zakouřil kind of goes too forward for me. He kind of gets up on the front wheel, which is not really where you want to be. And Shanahan makes, not the perfect lead run for the first half of the track, much better on the second. Zakouřil does some good moves, but he has a massive straighten on the inside of the second corner, and that's probably the biggest mistake of the whole run, which the judges will be looking at.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to that. Certainly on the first half of the run, David, that was a huge mistake.
I think he expected the car just to snap the transition and just stopped in the middle. It just literally gripped up and it didn't move the other way. And it's almost heartbreaking to watch these guys make so much time and effort to come to this event. They get into the flow of qualifying and practice. They're looking super strong. They want to go, toe to toe and be better than each other. But what's really happening, and it's very hard to say, is who's not worse is kind of what's happening on the track.
Well, I'm wondering, was Zakouřil expecting Jack maybe to have more pace, or maybe his own car just had more pace than Shanahan's car had?
And maybe pace isn't the right thing to have, because of course you have very little room for error when you have so much grip in the car, because if you do have to slow down, the car straightens up, and that's exactly what happened Marco Zakouřil. So Jack Shanahan definitely, I think, knowing how fast Marco Zakouřil's car is taking a big run up here in the chase position. He has to go to the door. He knows Zakouřil's car is one of the fastest on the grid, and Shanahan has to go for this now. Has to, get that proximity from the off. Can't let Zakouřil pull away.
Here we go, Zakouřil to lead them in. Shanahan, such an early initiation from Jack Shanahan as he goes fully aggressive here. But Zakouřil now, no problems at this point in the circuit this time around. The Shanahan sucks in. Zakouřil gets a little bit offline though. Big angle from Zakouřil's gone, Dave.
Yeah, Zakouřil's gone, Shanahan's gone. I don't know how they didn't make contact. That initiation from Jack Shanahan, the man just needs to calm down. That is a ridiculous thing to do. He initiates so much earlier than everybody else, and I think what he's doing is he's saying, I'm going to initiate the same every time, irregardless of my opponent, because I know what's going to happen. And at this point you're thinking Zakouřil's doing good, Shanahan's doing good, but this is the problem. Look at the pace Zakouřil builds here, because he's not on the outside line. He's almost straight line burnout through the track. When he transitions, you ain't slowing down there. You're just going to have to throw on the angle, and once you throw on the angle, the car was gone. Shanahan's on the front brake saying, uh-oh, here we go, and the two boys hinge into grass, and how they're not in another collision, I don't know. Look at this absolute carnage as you come through.
Yeah, absolutely crazy from both drivers. Jack Shanahan will look at that as a positive though, Dave, because he'll say, well, the mistake was made in front of me. I was left with nowhere to go, and for my money, Jack Shanahan should be taking that last spot in the Great 8.
Well, it's the last decision of our top 16, and what a crazy top 16 it's been, and the championship could still be all to play for, same as we were this morning, which it definitely didn't look like at any point in this top 32. But the top 4 or 5 in the championship might still be the top 4 or 5 in the championship if decisions fall one way or the other. But it looks like to me this would be an obvious one, with Zakouřil spinning out. Going through to the top 8 is Jack Shanahan. Jack Shanahan will once again go head-to-head with his brother Conor Shanahan, but this time, not just the trophy on the line, the championship on the line in the top 8. Wow, incredible stuff. And a spin out from Marco Zakouřil. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I didn't expect that. I thought Zakouřil was going to leave Shanahan for dead, but then when you could put up too much pace through the center section of the course, built up too much, made a big error, and I'm wondering, are we going to see fully dry battles here as we move through this top 8? Hard to say. So I'll tell you one thing, Eddie, we've got a little break before we get to our top 8, but one thing I will say, the Irish fans are cheering, the Finnish fans are cheering, they're all still in the competition. All the Finnish drivers, all the Irish drivers, still as they were this morning, and Lauri Heinonen, Jack Shanahan, Conor Shanahan, Juha Rintanen, and Duane McKeever all still in the competition, but there's only 8 left in the competition. We started with 56, and who is going to take the top 3 steps, and who's going to be King of Riga?
What's very interesting, Dave, is you have Conor Shanahan taking on Jack Shanahan in the Great 8. You also have Lauri Heinonen taking on Duane McKeever in the top 8.
Yes, some huge battles ahead of us as we head into one of the sketchiest, craziest, and knife-edge top 8s of the year. This is going to be a wild one here in Riga. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Riga for round 4 of the Drift Masters European Championship. The action has kicked off yesterday with qualifying, but here we are at the top 8. We started with 56 drivers from all across the world. We now have 8 remaining, and of those 8, 5 of them are still in the current championship hunt for the 2023 title. This could not get any more interesting, and the track has been patchy, it's been wet, it's been dry, and as we head into this top 8, we have no idea what way the drivers will approach it, but for you guys, you are going to have some incredible action on your screens and here in attendance. It's been a crazy year so far. We started off with Ireland, and you know what? We thought we had it all figured out. Well, we didn't, because we had 3 different winners at round 1. Current champion Peter Wiańczek took the win, business as usual, but then Juha Rintanen in Sweden, his first ever Drift Masters win. And then at round 3 in Finland, Conor Shanahan beat his brother Jack Shanahan to take the top spot. We head from here to Ferropolis in Germany in August, and then we head to the big one, PGA Narodowy, the biggest drift event in the history of drifting, on the 15th and 16th of September. And this Riga track, well, I'll tell you one thing, it takes no prisoners. And here is how our championship standings are going into this round. Conor Shanahan, Lauri Heinonen, Jack Shanahan, Juha Rintanen, and Duane McKeever, the top 5 as they were, now going into this top 8. But Peter Wiańczek, well, he didn't have such a great time in the top 32. Our current and reigning champion, I'll tell you what, it was a big upset. He got caught by the weather conditions in the top 32, and he made some errors, dropping some wheels, getting up on the curbs, and local youngster Nicholas Bertans, Nik Nak, took him down with a masterclass in the harsh conditions, and Peter Wiańczek just couldn't overturn it. A 32 exit for Peter Wiańczek puts him on the ropes for a championship contention, and I think his 3 in a row, the dream has died today. Although he can still jump back up the order at the next round, it's now all moving towards these 5 drivers left in the top 8. And we got some wild cards in there that are ready to shake it up, like Nicholas Bertans and James Deane. It's going to be an exciting finish to this round. And I'll tell you one thing, I got to talk you through this track because it's wild, it's crazy, and it doesn't make sense in these conditions. But I'll tell you what, let's have a look at it. The track here in Riga, the patchy conditions, the rain, the dry, the sun now coming through. It is an awesome place to be drifting, but not in these conditions. Outer zones 5, decel zones 1, and the track is 670 meters long. From the off, you got to go full throttle up to 4th gear, fire the car in on angle into outer zone 1. And this is the trickiest part of the track, especially with the wet and dry conditions. It's a very slight corner. You get it wrong, you're going off the track or in the wall. You get it right, and then it's only the beginning of this roller coaster as you transition full throttle outer zone 2, inner zone 3, and full throttle again on outer zone 4. Then it's a big sketchy transition on outer zone 5, staying out of the curbs, and those curbs are about the size of a small wall, so you don't want to go anywhere near them. We've watched a couple of our battles already decided by those. See Michael Reichert just avoiding them there. Then it's the first deceleration zone as you come into outer zone 6, which is this huge long wall run at the end where you want to get the edge of the car, the two wheels, into that outer zone without making major contact with the wall. And if you've done all that, you've survived just one run of Riga. And these guys have survived quite a few because they're now into the top 8. James Deane, the wild card, goes up against the wild card of Nik Nak as our first battle of the top 8. Lauri Heinonen goes up against Duane McKeever. Conor Shanahan goes up against Jack Shanahan, his own brother, and Michael Reichert will go up against Juha Rintanen. As I mentioned, 5 of our championship contenders going into that top 8. Anything can happen from here, and it is round 4 of the championship. My name is Dave Egan. I'll be talking you through all of the action alongside my good friend and colleague Eddie Power. Eddie, we've had the wildest event so far, but something tells me this top 8 is going to be special.
Yeah, we've had it all, Dave, but you know what? I don't think we have prepared ourselves for what might come just yet. All top 5 of our championship contenders in the top 8, and we are ready to go with 2 wildcards looking to upset the odds.
We got 2 wildcards, warming tires. That means we're ready. The temperature's rising in the venue. The track temperatures are getting perfect. You know what? I think it's time to stop talking and get to the drifting. Let's head to our top 8. The stage is set here in Riga as the most successful drifter in the history of the sport, James Deane, sits on the start line in the lead position going up against a youngster, 18 years of age, Nicholas Bertans, the local hero from Riga, Latvia, goes up against his dream. This is his dream battle. It's his idol. It's his mentor. But they're enemies right now as one spot in the top 4 is up for grabs, and James Deane is having a word with our start line marshal. I'm not sure what he's saying, but it looks like they are all a little bit stressed on that start line today, especially with the conditions changing. But look, that track, every minute, every second, it's drying, but they're seeing some patchy conditions out there as well. Who's going to make the first mistake? Nicholas Bertans is laser focused right now on the start line. James Deane is laser focused on the start line, and this is going to be a huge battle. Already today, Nik Nak has taken out Peter Vjainsek. What if he took out James Deane? All in the one event. This would be history in the making, and James Deane having his window taped closed as Marson, our starline marshal, seeing that every panel on every car is starting to give way here. And it looks like he will have a little check around the cars, make sure everything is absolutely A-OK as we head into this one. I'll tell you what, James Deane has won this event in this car before, but he's up against a steely competitor in Nicholas Bertans, who's done plenty of competitions on this layout in different conditions this year. They're off the line, and here we go. The top 8 in Drift Masters Round 4 for King of Riga is on. Deane fires into that first corner. Look at Nicholas Bertans right up on the door. No backing down from the youngsters. They transition, depth-defying as they go wet to dry conditions as Deane up onto the edge of the track, missing that outer zone as Nicholas Bertans fires through the smoke cloud that James Deane is creating. Sketchy transitions all over the track, and Bertans goes too early, but he makes it work, tags Deane as they come around the last corner, and that is the first clean battle we've seen today.
Yeah, some of the driest conditions we've seen all day, and you know what, for my money, Dave, Nicholas Bertans giving it everything, and for a moment it looked like he had the better of James Deane, who was doing a fantastic job in the lead position, but just times that transition wrong as he comes from outer zone 5 into outer zone 6. But look at the entry here from James Deane, fully committed, and Bertans tucked in right there with him. And what an opportunity for this young man if he could take down Peter Vjainsek and James Deane in the same event.
Well, you know what,
on his home track here in Riga.
You're absolutely right. He got the transition wrong. It was too early, but he still made it work. He still got up on the door. I don't know. They both transitioned at completely different times, but for some reason, both of these guys are still in the fight. Check it out here on your replay. Bertans goes way too early, and Deane, I mean, that must have been scary in the car for Nik Nak.
Yeah, really treacherous, and you can just see, I think he gets himself caught just on a very dry line there, and maybe just unpredictable, but you know what? It's a big enough mistake for me against the caliber of James Deane, and that's the problem. You wouldn't expect James Deane to make a similar mistake when we switch it around and James goes into the chase position. James is going to have to be perfect now, but I think he's going to know, with the spotters giving him the information, that just a clean pass of the circuit here, and it could see him into the final 4.
You know what, easier said than done, and I think if you look at Nicholas Bertans, he's going to give a good lead run here. He's looking like he's very comfortable in the conditions. James Deane did miss an outer zone on his lead run there, and that's going to count a little bit as well towards the score at the end. There was great proximity from Nicholas Burton. I think this one is closer than you would imagine, and James Deane is, and the judges gave me a nod, so they are saying this one is right in the balance. So James Deane's got to go for it here. He's got to risk it. He's the wild card this weekend, and he wants to be this year's King of Riga. Well, if he does, he's got to go through the local hero. And the way that Nicholas Burton is driving right now, James Deane is going to have confidence from the off to go into this one full steam.
Well, here we go, the second half of this one. Bertans to lead them in. What can he do against James Deane? James Deane straight from the off, hard on the accelerator as he tries to minimise the amount of gap that Nicholas Bertans can pull away from him here, as both drivers door to door, side by side. Perfect transitions from both drivers. Deane going super aggressive as they come beyond the grandstand. Big error there as Deane just gets the transition a little bit wrong. Bertans now throws it onto the wall and Deane tucks back into the pocket. Bertans makes contact with the door, hits the brakes hard and gives James Deane nowhere to go as they cross the line. A calamity of errors that they've...
Do you know what? You could say calamity of errors, but how they both got around that track, absolutely door to door, with so many weird transitions. There was some phenomenal proximity from James Deane through the first half of the run, and from my perspective, that transition, the only reason that both runs could be decided on those two transitions, was the lead car at fault, was the chase car at fault? It's incredibly hard to say. And as they get out of those cars, I can only imagine the amount of stress and anxiety that's going on. Let's analyze this one again, Eddie. James Deane went for blood here from the off.
Yeah, James really going for it. You know, he knew he had to go aggressive here. And look at this. The transitions, they're almost, unbelievable that they can actually make them work. And Deane going really aggressive, almost makes front wheel on front wheel contact with Bertans, then backs out of it. And the question is, was there maybe some contact there with the two front wheels as James gets very close and then completely backs out of it here? Is this an error from James, or is he just trying to time the transition perfectly?
Well, he does
really
he transitions before Nik Nak here. Watch, he goes in very close, and James decides to go for the transition first. And look at this. That is just ridiculous from James Deane. How does he get around the lead car when he's also still transitioning? He's not even sure where he is. And again, like we saw on the other run, they get back in formation again, which normally would see a big spin or an off or something completely fall apart. But from here on in, you can see James Deane goes a little bit too on the inside, but Burton's not right out to the wall as well. And James Deane a little bit more overtaking than door on door there. So not sure which way the judges are going to call this. It's going to be very close, I can imagine.
I think James reacting to that impact that Bertans had with the wall. Bertans, you can see those brake lights lighting up, and yeah, both drivers shaking their head, and they're not sure either.
Yeah, they're not sure either, but who is going to go through to the final four? Nobody, because it's a one more time between James Deane and Nicholas Bertans. And I'll tell you what, that seems to me to be the story of that battle, Kevin. Those two transitions, but also some incredible driving in these conditions.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible driving, and that's the kind of driving that we really want to see here. I suppose when you break it down technically, though, you're comparing lead to lead and chase to chase, and if you look at Nik Nak's lead, I think it was definitely better than James's. James, unfortunately, was on the edge of a couple of outer zones and stuff, whereas Nik Nak was more or less in nailing most of that lead line. Then you compare chase to chase, and I personally think that if Nik Nak didn't have that big error on the final transition, that he would have taken it overall. But for us, that was quite a substantial mistake, and it took away a lot of the advantage that he had on his chase run. So I think Nik Nak won the lead, James won the chase, and overall we have to see it go one more time.
Well, one more time. We ain't complaining, Kevin. That's what we want to see these guys go one more time. And I think the confidence building on both of those drivers. And we thought we'd get a little rest before the one more time, but now we got another massive battle on the start line. Lauri Heinonen from Finland going up against the Irish driver Duane McKeever, and both of these guys in the championship fight. So this is the first time today you're seeing two championship contenders go head to head. The Irish flags and the Finnish flags raising in the grandstand. A lot more Finnish, I will say here. I think they closed the whole country this weekend to come and check out Lauri Heinenen's progress, and Juha Rintanen. Duane McKeever is going to be happy. The track conditions are getting a little bit drier here. Both of these guys are exceptional talents, and all we got to do now is sit back and watch this incredible spectacle as we see who's got what it takes to take the points and get those championship points in the bag. McKeever gives the thumbs up. Lauri Heinonen gives the thumbs up. Riga is ready to see Heinonen versus McKeever for a spot in the top four. Here we go.
Yeah, Heinonen to lead in McKeever. The roof about to be lifted off the arena here as we go for a spot in the final four. Who's it going to be? Heinonen throws on huge angle, but look at McKeever. McKeever now applying the pressure behind it. Big angle as he throws it wide here in front of the grandstand and goes deep into that outer zone at 5, drops some wheels. What can McKeever do now? Can he stay in it? Can he stay with him? Heinonen up onto the wall, slams the rear end off that wall as he tries to find a gap from McKeever, but McKeever goes aggressive onto the door, and Dave, they cross the line. The grandstand goes insane.
Well,
and things are just starting to heat up right about now.
Yeah, we had to wait a little bit for it today with all the patchy conditions, but right now we are seeing guys go out there with absolutely no mechanical sympathy and not caring less about their cars. This, for me, from McKeever in the first corner, was depth-defying. Goes right into the pocket behind an excellent lead run of Lauri Heinonen, but then McKeever transitions on too much of a snap. He gets himself caught on the inside, has to run up on the curb, does well to stay in it, and look at this for a transition from McKeever. Oh, it's just so close as they come through the center section. But Heinonen picks up too much speed. He goes way too fast through the center section of the course, and it looks to me like he overshoots it, fires up over it, and it's very close to two wheels. And I'm not sure, we'll have to look at it a few more times, but he goes way off the track there. Gets himself back on. McKeever has to tap the front brakes to get back into it. And then watch Heinonen here. He kind of loses a little bit of traction, hits the wall, moves the concrete block with the back end of the car. The splitter comes off, the spoilers come off, there's cones flying, there's McKeevers and Heinenens all over the track. And we have no idea which way the judges are going to call it. But what I do love to see is the fight in both of these drivers. They are not backing down, regardless of how treacherous it is out there. We're just going to tape the whole car in one big circle around here with Marston. There's just one big ball of tape.
Yeah, almost feels as if Marston is doing this, Dave, just to play with your... but, you know, look, that car, that rear end took a massive impact, exploded off the wall as Heinonen just obliterated as he came by that outer zone 6. But McKeever doing really well just to stay committed behind Lauri Heinonen, as Heinonen was just throwing everything at it here.
Yeah, well, you got to say Heinonen had the bigger error, so McKeever's got to put in a phenomenal lead run. Now, the only way that Heinenen's going to get back into this and get himself into the top 4, there's only one way. He's got to be phenomenal. He's got to go on the door and bring all the points back to his way with proximity. That's all he can do. To overturn that mistake, he has got to be glued to the door. He's got to be absolutely inch perfect. And if he wants to be the champion this year, this is one of the biggest battles of the year for him. There's tail lights on the ground. He's taping tail lights to the tires. Just pull it out, Marston. It doesn't matter anymore. None of it works. He's just shoved it in there and said, we're not stopping the show anymore. We're going to send these boys on. As Lauri Heinonen is laser focused on the start line. He cannot let McKeever get away. He's got to use all of that over 1,000 horsepower in his car. That Dodge NASCAR V8 with a supercharger. He's got to chase down the RB of McKeever here. And McKeever, he's a good lead driver. He's a good guy in qualifying. Heinonen can lean on him here. He knows he's going to be fast. You know he's going to be no game. So Heinonen can go from it here from the off. And we still have bits of cars falling off on the start line. Getting hyped up there, Eddie, and they can't even put the cars back together.
Yeah, you know, premature hype there, Dave, but here we go. It looks as though we are getting the thumbs up from the start line. Marshall, they are ready to go. McKeever to lead in Heinonen. The second half of this one, it hangs in the balance. McKeever needs a good lead run. Heinonen needs to force an error. Can he do so?
And Heinonen goes into the chase position. Look at that on the back bumper of McKeever. Wow, what a transition from Lauri Heinonen. Heinenen's coming for it here. McKeever on full steam. Heinonen takes the front bumper off his car, but stays in it, and he's all over Duane McKeever. This is the fight we wanted to see. Lauri Heinonen up onto the door as he pushes Duane McKeever into the wall and into a stop. And we have carnage, and we finished out with two cars broken, bruised, battered, and we don't know which way this one's going to fall.
All I can say, Dave, it is just lucky that one's not going back up to the start line, because I don't think there is enough tape in the world to fix the carnage that is just unfolded out on circuit here. The crowd goes absolutely wild, all of them standing in applause, cheering what we've just witnessed. If ever there was a driver who tried to force an error from a lead driver, it was Lauri Heinonen there, and Duane McKeever managed to maintain his composure. That was absolutely crazy.
That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. I mean, whatever about being good or bad at drifting, to be that brave, to be that committed, to put your car and your body on the line. Both cars are destroyed after that battle. McKeever can't even make it back to the finish line to get his result. He's going to have to walk it there, and McKeever gets out on top of his car and says, are you not entertained? There is pieces of S13 all over the track, and both of these guys gave it absolutely everything. We waited a long time today to see this level of driving, but they knew what it meant, and look at this in the replay. Lauri Heinonen went to an ungodly level of proximity here through the center of the course, but you just couldn't force the error from McKeever. Watch this from Heinonen as he goes through here. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that's just absolutely dangerous as well. Heinonen putting that car in a place that it just shouldn't be, trying to force the error. And again, as they switch it back, look at the transition. Deep inside McKeever he goes as he tries to just find something that can unsettle McKeever. But McKeever, he's got so much experience.
Now what I want to really look at here is the end, the last corner, because it looked like they just smashed into each other until somebody stopped, or someone gave up, and neither car makes it. That transition, Heinonen gets the bumper caught under the steering wheel. The fenders have gone off the car. He still transitions on the back bumper of Duane. McKeever goes into the door. McKeever puts on the lead run, and McKeever gets thumped into the wall. Yeah, it looks like Lauri Heinonen pushed him into the wall to me. Now that's just initial view. I'm not sure if McKeever slowed. Look at the front of Lauri Heinenen's car. Absolute car. He hits the front wheel. That's what it is. He pushes McKeever's steering wheel out of his hands, and you can't say that Lauri Heinonen didn't try hard enough there.
No, certainly full commitment from Lauri Heinonen, but was it just too much aggression? Well, we await the judge's decision. That was absolute carnage.
I got goosebumps on that one, Eddie. I'm going to be honest with you. There was just moments there where you're going, somebody calm down. Just someone calm down. That was ridiculous. That's over 70 miles an hour. You're taking bumpers off and smashing into each other. And McKeever and Heinonen, there's not much left of McKeever's car. It's being recovered in the middle of the circuit right now. So even if he gets the call here, he's got the panic on to see if this is even going to be possible to fix. Because you can see right now, it's a drive shaft or a diff, I think he's saying, because obviously Lauri hit him so hard and he hit the wall so hard with the rear end of the car. The judging having a good look at this one. McKeever goes deep into the wall here at the end, and this is what the judges are going to look at and say, did McKeever go in the wall and bounce back into Lauri Heinonen, or did Lauri Heinonen just hit him on his own? It looked to me like Lauri Heinonen just surged up and hit that front wheel. But yeah, we're getting confirmation that there is a drive shaft failure on the back of, I'm not surprised, on the back of Duane McKeever's car. And yeah, as they come across the line, you can see that the judging here, they can move forward and back across multiple camera angles. So just making sure this is obviously a big decision for the championship. And there's a lot of collisions here on the one course, right? There's 3 or 4 crashes there as they go start to finish. Lauri Heinenen's making the calls because he doesn't know if he's got the win or the loss here. So if he's got the win or the lose, he still has to prepare as if he gets the win to maybe come back out on track. So is McKeever. They don't know right now which way the judging decision is going to go. Duane McKeever recovering his own car there and starting to load it on the truck. Of course, Duane, no stranger to that in his day-to-day job. So here we go. There's going to be a decision in. And it's Duane McKeever getting the win. Duane McKeever gets the win. He's on the phone. He's trying to get the car fixed because they have no time here really to get this car fixed. And I'm just going to jump very quickly over to you, Kevin. A lot of impacts, a lot of crashes. It was very exciting, but it looked to me like the nail in the coffin, that big hit from Lauri on Duane on the last corner.
Exactly, Dave. It all really comes down to that, and that contact between Lauri and Duane at the end, which caused Duane to shut off. What we were trying to figure out from all the replays was Duane shutting off anyway, or was the contact with Lauri causing Duane to actually shut off? And I think you could see here for the final corner, it was quite messy. Lauri comes in, makes contact with Duane. Duane continues as best as he can on his qualifying line. Lauri shallows up, comes in, contact again with the rear wheel, therefore breaking the shaft on Duane's car, and he can no longer complete the run. Incomplete is scored. We deem Lauri to be at fault.
A lot of crashing. I like it. I'm not that I like seeing cars crash, but I like the tenacity we saw across that run.
Well, look, I think we waited long enough for excitement like that after, you know, the treacherous, horrible rainy conditions we had earlier on, and that was the driving that you and I came to see, that the fans here came to see, and maybe not what Duane McKeever came here to see, but you know what, I think he goes back into the pits, and yeah, let's hope he can get that car ready for a Final Four battle. Yeah, well, still doesn't know who he's going to face, because we got a one more time battle with Nik Nak and James Deane to come back to.
I mean, we are not getting out of this top 8 without a lot of bumps and bruises, and we definitely had one of the most exciting battles of the day as Duane McKeever and Lauri Heinonen. Well, they definitely left it all on the track, and Lauri Heinonen was not leaving this venue today without a fight, and he's going home with bits of his car all over the place. I think he's got more tape than S13 right now. And Duane McKeever gets the crowd pumped as he heads off the circuit, as he tries to get that rear drive shaft replaced on that car. The back of the car absolutely destroyed, and they're very lucky that it's all fiberglass and all you know, tube frame in the back, because if it was a standard car, these cars would all be written off pretty quick. And of course, we'll take a little rest now, because we've only got a battle between two brothers, Conor and Jack Shanahan, which was the final from Finland. This event just keeps giving us heavyweight after heavyweight battle, and Conor and Jack currently sitting first and third in the championship. Well, they go head to head here in the top 8, and whoever loses is going to lose a lot of ground in the championship. This is the time Jack Shanahan can get back into the mix. He can catch up on his brother. He's driving very, very well, and right now, looking at the current form of this particular event, I could not pick a winner here.
Yeah, Jack Shanahan, if he takes down his brother Conor here, could see himself going top of the championship, with Lauri Heinonen, the second place championship contender, bowing out of competition. We are ready to go here. Here comes Conor Shanahan in the lead position in the repeat of the final of round 3. Here we go, Shanahan to lead in. Shanahan, GT86 versus GT86. Conor Shanahan, perfect so far, but look where Jack is, tucked in perfectly door to door. Two brothers in unison as they come by the grandstand. No problems from either driver so far. Perfect from Conor, perfect from Jack as they look to fulfill that final outer zone. Conor Shanahan, Jack on the door as they cross the line, Dave. A perfect run from the Shanahan brothers.
That is just ridiculous. I need to see this on the replay. I think there was a huge thump from Jack Shanahan into the door of Conor Shanahan as they went to outer zone 4. I'm not sure, but it looked like something got unsettled. We'll see it here in the replay. This is just ridiculous. Jack Shanahan enters so early on the door of Conor Shanahan. Of course, both of these guys running the same setup, same tires, same everything, so it's driver v driver. And as they come through this, look at this, Conor Shanahan perfect to the outside zone. Now just watch Jack Shanahan here. Does he make contact with his brother? As they come through here, it looked to me that there was a little bit of a thump, but no, I think they get away with it. We'll see it from this angle. Lock up from Conor. Yeah, look at that big bump into the door from Jack Shanahan. But they stay in it, and as they transition, it's as if nothing ever happened. They go through the next section. I think that is one of the most incredible showings of proximity on the Riga circuit. And of course, Jack and Conor, you know, these are best friends, brothers behind the scenes, but when they put those helmets on, it's business time. And look at this, Jack Shanahan was all over Conor Shanahan as they went around that last corner. Highlight reel stuff once again from the Shanahans, this time not in the final, but for a spot in the top 4. And right now, Conor Shanahan being asked the question, oh, you're leading the championship, are you? Well, now you're in trouble, because that was a phenomenal chase run from Jack Shanahan, and Conor's got to go to an uncomfortable level of speed and proximity here to stay in the battle. Jack is tired of second place this year, and he has done all he can in the chase. Now it's up to Conor to prove his worth and prove why he's top of the standings.
Well, Jack Shanahan ups his game, but Conor now looking to repeat just what Jack did as he tries to give a little bit back to the older brother here. As Shanahan on Shanahan once again. Jack, a perfect line through the first few sections, goes deep into that outer zone, and now Conor getting a little bit wide, and Conor goes off the circuit, Dave. The championship leader is off the circuit.
He got lost in the smoke, Eddie. He got completely lost in the smoke. He went wide where Jack did. He got caught. The angle Jack Shanahan put in on outer zone 4, you can see the rage inside the cockpit for Conor Shanahan as he can't believe that's happened. I'll tell you, it was Jack Shanahan. He did it on purpose. On outer zone 4, he dialed in a gangster amount of lock, blew up all the back tires, and it went straight into Conor's windscreen. And when Conor came out, he didn't know where he was, straight off the track. And that is phenomenal, next level driving from Jack Shanahan. But Conor Shanahan, well, he's going to be furious with that. Not the way he wanted to exit the competition, but if he's got to lose to anyone, it's going to be to his own brother. And that was phenomenal on-track action from the Shanahans. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. You can see how visibly furious Conor Shanahan is there, though. You know, huge championship implications. When we watch this one back, Dave, and we take a look at the replay footage here.
Now watch this. Look at Jack's angle here as he goes to outer zone 4. Dials in the angle. Look at the smoke cloud coming up on Conor's. Conor goes too wide. Yeah, he's unable to transition in time. I think Jack just went so fast through that outer zone 4 that Conor didn't expect the transition to come so soon. Look, watch as he transitions. He goes, uh-oh, I'm way too wide here. And he's got to bail off on the exit road to avoid damage in the car. knife edge stuff, Eddie, and it's what we expect to see when we see the heavyweights of European drifting go head to head. We saw Lauri and Duane leave it all on the track. We see the Shanahans leave it all on the track. But who's going to the final four? I think we know the answer. It's Jack Shanahan going to the final four, and the championship blown wide open again as Conor Shanahan, your championship leader, goes out of competition, and his brother climbs up some points. And Lauri Heinen's out of competition. By the end of today, Jack Shanahan could be your championship leader if he wins the event, but there's a long way from here to there. Eddie, this is phenomenal. This is driving on the knife edge at the top level. You won't see this anywhere else in the world. And right back to the start line we go with James Deane against Nik Nak. The one more time. They couldn't be separated, and it's just ridiculous run after ridiculous run here.
The action just keeps coming thick and fast. No time for a break, no time to catch your breath here. As James Deane, Nicholas Bertans, the one more time battle. One of them is going up into the final four against Duane McKeever, but which one is it going to be? Nicholas Bertans looking very focused, the 18-year-old, the hometown hero this weekend. Can he take down James Deane? Well, we are about to find out. He's already put him to one more time. Here we go, James Deane leaving the line. Nicholas Bertans in the chase position. Deane slams shoes and gears and throws that car on the big angle, fires it into that outer zone. And flawless here from James Deane. But look at this, look at the transition from Nicholas Bertans as he sets himself to attack mode. Bertans bringing the fight here, matching Deane step for step, zone for zone. Contact, front wheel on front wheel, and they keep it going, Dave.
How are they still drifting this track? James Deane over-rotated, he got hit back going again. This is absolutely insane. I think Deane overdid it. I think he over-rotated. I don't know. I've got to look at it again. It looked to me like James Deane over-rotated. He went from angle to angle, and Nicholas Bertans throws his hands up at James Deane and says, what was that?
Well, we've talked about Nicholas Bertans as being the future of the sport. Well, he has just announced himself onto the stage, regardless of what happens here, regardless of whether he's going home.
This is the moment. Let's see what happens. Deane goes, watch the transition from Deane. Is there contact?
I think Deane over-rotates.
But is he going to hold it? That's the question. Is he going to hold it?
But is it chaseable?
Oh, Eddie, I'm not a judge and you're not a judge, and I'm sure every single person watching this has no idea. How did they end up door to door at the end of that after all of that?
If you just cut this... And then
that's a big hit. That's a huge hit.
Look, that's 3-4 wheels, a couple of feet in the air.
But remember, that's due to Deane slowing on angle. So look at this hit. Look at Bertan's car. Look at the hop it's going to do here. That's a wheel up over the other wheel. Jeez.
I think if you look at this from another angle, though, David, James Deane is going to go 90 degrees onto this wall, and would he be able to maintain that angle the whole way through that final outer zone? I don't know. This is a huge one for the judges, but both drivers getting straight back into it. How these vehicles are even capable of competing after such an impact is beyond me, but they both made it back to the start line on their own steam.
Yeah, I'm just thinking right now, because I'm hearing word from the pits that we may have steering damage on James Deane's car here, and that may put him into a judging decision rather than a run, or maybe it's just fixing the bumper. I have no idea what's going on. We're actually hearing from the pits Duane McKeever out of the competition. Complete gearbox failure in Duane McKeever's car, meaning that the winner of this particular battle is going to go, if I'm not mistaken, then automatically through to the final. I'm just thinking that by looking in front of me here. James Deane's being asked the question, is steering problems in his car? Is the car okay to compete? That was a big hit between Bertans and Deane there, and they're very stressed. You can see Deane rattled, Bertans rattles. This is very stressful stuff. This is sport at its highest level, at its most intense and most anxiety-filled, and we're just standing back and watching masters at work here in Riga. And James Deane now in the chase position. He doesn't care if the car's working. He's saying he's got steering issues, but he's going to send it anyway as Nicholas Bertans now heads to the start line. And it's go time here as Nicholas Bertans comes off the line. And there you have it, straight through the gears. Deane being left a little bit for dead here on the run-up as Bertans goes flying into that first corner. James Deane is left for dead. Something wrong with James Deane's car as he fires in. James Deane, kamikaze stuff through outer zone 2. How is he still in the battle here as James Deane fires through back into this one, and they're not backing down. Deane with some scary transitions here as Bertans goes to the wall, Deane goes to the door, and I go to my knees because that is unbelievable.
Incredible scenes here. Deane 360s across the finish line. Bertans, I mean, what a talent we have on our hands here. What a talent. This young man has put on an incredible show. I know it's his home track, Dave, but to go up against two of the best drivers in the world and to put them on the ropes the way this young man has done is just incredible.
You know what, the transition from Deane from outer zone 1 to 2. He's no right in this world to get away with that, but he did. He lost so much ground. And I'm not sure which way the judges are going to go. There was a big hit on the first run, but to me it looked like Nicholas Byrun. Watch the transition from Deane. Have you ever seen anything like this in drifting? He lost, what, 7 car lengths. He comes at almost 70 miles an hour down the inside of the track. Now watch this. How does he get away with that? How do you get away with that? That is ridiculous. That was going to be a crash where both of those guys were not going to come out. And Deane somehow gets back in the fight. Everything he could do in that Eurofighter to get back in it, and my voice is breaking almost like every rear panel on every car in this championship, and that is phenomenal stuff here. Deane did everything, tried to get in. Look at the transitions, are just insane. Oh, and we got it all at the end, Eddie. It was a slow start to this one, but we got all the action.
We got it all at the end, and the voices are breaking even. Look at this, hand out the window, Dave, as they cross the line from Bertrand, saying, come on, get a bit closer.
It's wild, it's wild.
Insane.
But it's a decision to go through to the final 4. And it's Nik Nak getting the win. Nicholas Bertans beats James Deane in Riga, in his hometown. And you know what? I have no argument there. I think that was definitely the way we all saw that one going. Incredible stuff. Kevin, quick throwback to you. Talk to me about that collision on the first run, because I think that's really where it all went wrong for James Deane.
Absolutely, Dave. That's definitely one of the defining factors of this battle. And what we did is we really slowed it down and tried to analyse it as best we could. And to us, it just looks like Deane comes in just a little bit too hot, over-rotates a little bit, slams on the front brakes to try and slow the car down, and that actually over-rotates the car. And you can see the trajectory of the car as Deane is coming in on his lead run here, the opposite run now, mind you. He is coming in and he over-rotates massively coming into the last zone, and there's huge contact between him and Nik Nak. It wasn't enough for an incomplete, but it was enough for a massive deduction, and very almost impossible, as you can see here, for Nik Nak to avoid when he's coming in that hot. Then you have switch him around the other run, and you can see that Nik Nak pulled away massively from the first corner, and Deane had to hugely dive around the first corner to try and make up any advantage. So for me, Nik Nak winning both the lead and the chase overall.
Thanks, Kevin. It's kind of similar to how we saw it live. And actually, you know what? Regardless of the results, what I'm loving here is how much commitment we're seeing. I just want to break. It's been just crash and run and transition, but we're back in it again. It looks to me like Nik Nak will go straight to the final if Duane McKeever does not turn up for that top 4 spot, which means we are now heading to our next top 8 battle. Juha Rintanen still in the fight, the last Finnish driver still in the competition. We'll go up against Michael Reichert, and this will be to take on Jack Shanahan in the top 4, whoever goes through this. And Eddie, what happens next, right? You're writing the story here. It already sounds ridiculous. If we'd written the script, people would say it's unrealistic. Now Rintanen, can he just keep it together in the chase position? He will climb up the championship here. But Michael Reichert, this is the dream weekend. This is what he's been hunting for, and he's not backing down here.
No, Michael Reichert is back with a vengeance here this weekend, and he's coming to take down Juha and get that place in the final 4. But Juha Rintanen might have other ideas as both drivers pile on. Huge angle, but big straight in there from Michael Reichert as he puts too much angle into the car, but he get back into it now, and Juha Rintanen comes for the door of Michael Reichert, throws it deep into that outer zone, and both guys side by side as they cross the line.
Well, I'll tell you what, Michael Reichert did make the big error there. As outer zone 1 to 2, he snapped too much angle in, and it looked to me like he almost over-rotated. Rintanen backs off, let Reichert get back in the mix again. But it looked to me like Michael Reichert, unforced error in the lead position. You'll see it here on your screens as he fires in. And this looks great for Michael Reichert. He's got all the pace in the world. He's leaving Juha Rintanen a little bit for dead. But watch this transition, way too snappy. Gets on angle here, boom, that's too much there. Has to straighten the car out. Rintanen has to sort of back off on the front brake. And he does a great job, Juha Rintanen, there of staying in it, because that car, that E92 was coming up real fast on that inner zone. And after there, not a bad run from either driver, but a lot of handbrake from Michael Reichert there in a non-deceleration zone as well. So I think this is handing all of the advantage to the Juha Rintanen, and the Finnish driver will just have to keep it together here in the second half. And then he'll go up against maybe Jack Shanahan. I'm getting ahead of myself, but think about it. These are the guys battling it out for the championship right now. We know McKeever will not compete anymore. We know that Nicholas Bertans, Nik Nak will go automatically through to the final with a bye run, but the thing is, he's not really in the championship fight, so it's all about Rintanen and all about Shanahan right now for when it comes to points, and it's all going to be about Duane McKeever will probably end up finishing 4th here regardless, so that's just to keep you guys up to date on the championship standings, but it doesn't matter right now because we've got two crazy drivers coming down the track at over 70 miles an hour as the track dries. Rintanen to lead in Reichert.
Yeah, and here we go. Rintanen fires through the first corner, and Reichert now getting a little bit out of line and shallows up into that inside section. Juha puts foot to floor here and starts to pull the gap here as Reichert cuts the circuit to try and gain some proximity. Reichert goes deep into outer zone 5 and they make contact and a spin, Dave.
I think that's contact. I think that's Reichert hitting Rintanen there. That's just the first. I'm only acting on my gut here and my instincts when I watch it. But if you look at the characteristics of the car and the way they're moving, Rintanen looked like he took a bump there as they came through. We'll see it more clearly on the replay. But as they transition through, it looked to me like Reichert just going that little bit too hot. Rintanen, though, on the handbrake. And then they're on full throttle is their contact. Yeah, a little bump there from Michael Reichert. It's not the place on the track you want to get a bump because you're trying to actually go the opposite direction. And as Rintanen tries to transition, he can't because, well, there's an E92 stopping him. Look at that little bit of bump there. Oh, he gets very close to the wall here, Rintanen. That would have been a scary moment in that GR86 as he heads towards that concrete wall. And both drivers head back down for their result. It will be for a spot in the final 4. And almost the other side of the bracket has just shut down with McKeever out of the competition. It looks like we are just going to go straight to the final on the other side. And then we're going to have a top 4 battle between the winner of this and Jack Shanahan for the final spot in the final. Oh, Eddie. We had a clean run. We have contact in every single run for the last 4 or 5 battles.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think we're going to get through any of the final few battles, Dave, without contact. This has been absolutely intense. All the drivers, they know how much it means. And guess what? The fact that Peter is out of competition means they know that the championship is up for grabs. They know that they can get their hands on that trophy. And they know that if they just perform here this weekend in these few battles, put everything on the line, that they could be the ones taking the lead into the final 2 rounds.
Yeah, and the judges are going to make a decision on this one. They've had a good deliberation, and it's going to come down to that hit between Juha Rintanen and Michael Reichert. Did Rintanen slow down too much and Reichert hit him because of that, or did Reichert just go too fast and hit him? So that's going to be the decision. On the first run, you can see Michael Reichert does make a major error, but I think that collision is going to be where we decide this one. And Kevin O'Connell having a good debate with the rest of the judges here to see which way they're going to go, and this is where it's all going to come down to. Did Juha Rintanen slow too much here? Watch the rear of the car. Oh, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Michael Reichert coming too fast, Rintanen going a little bit too slow. That's going to be an interesting one for the judges to call. Hard to say who's at fault there. I think both drivers making a slight error, but they're going to have to, put blame on someone here for a decision. And Michael Reichert, he's vlogging away there on the stage. He's almost in tears at this stage as we get a decision. Who's going to go through? It's Juha Rintanen! Juha Rintanen gets the win. And the Finnish fans in attendance absolutely light up the grandstand. And wow, that was close, Kevin O'Connell. And it must have come down to that little bump towards the end of the second run.
Yeah, you're correct, Dave. It definitely all comes down to that contact at outer zone 5 there. You could see, and what we were really analysing was, did Juha Rintanen have any kind of a decel coming towards that zone? You could definitely see that he was using the left foot brake here just to slow the car down a little bit, settle the car, which we said in the briefing was acceptable. But from what we could see and our alternative camera views, we couldn't see any definitive movement of slowing down. It looks like Reichert was just coming in a little bit too hot. There was a very slight bump there, but a very slight bump at that speed on this part of the track is enough to unsettle Juha's car, and we have to give it an incomplete then to Reichert.
Thanks, Kev. And down on track is Becky Evans. She's with Juha Rintanen. He's going to the top 4 against his championship rival, Jack Shanahan. It's heating up, Becky.
Absolutely, Dave. Juha, that was an incredible battle. Could you feel him getting closer and closer and breathing down your neck, and you were on the lock stops at that point?
I wasn't fully on the lock stops, but that made me spin, unfortunately. Not the way we want to win, but that's how it is. The situation with the track is getting better, so just try now, and we're just getting used to it again. So,
congratulations, Juha. We'll see you in the final 4.
Well, there you have it. We have 4 drivers remaining, and that story is on the right-hand side of the bracket, because I'll tell you one thing, we know what's going to happen in the first Final Four battle, because it looks like Duane McKeever will not compete. The Finnish fans, well, they've been going strong since Friday morning, and here's how it is. Duane McKeever will not make it to the line, gearbox failure in his car, meaning that Nik Nak is going to go straight to the final, meaning that the next battle we will see is Jack Shanahan against Juha Rintanen, also meaning that the winner will go to the final, the loser will be taking third step on the podium. That's all ahead of us, guys. It's been an amazing day, but now we are here for the finals, here for the top 4. Let's get into it. On the start line will be Nicholas Bertnans. Nik Nak, I mean, we've got a driver from Riga, in the final. You can see they're trying desperately to analyze something on Duane McKeever's car here, but it looks like that drive shaft has caused problems right throughout the car. The hit not just in that located area, and you can see they're trying to figure out some way of getting the gearbox out there. They have a screwdriver, they got a hammer, and they've got very little time to get this car back together. We've heard that they're out of competition, but right now it looks like Nicholas Bertnans is on the start line, meaning once he leaves the start line, Eddie, he is going to take it straight to the final. Duane McKeever will automatically take 4th place because he's not competing, and then it's going to be all down to the next battle, and there's going to be a podium either way, I think, in the next battle. But again, it's still to be decided. Could Nik Nak win on his home track? I mean, he's going to be 18 years of age, beating Peter Wiancek. He beat James Deane. On a day like that, if you don't win the event, you're feeling a bit hard done by, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, he's getting that little bit of luck on his side as well now with this bye run into the final. So, you know what? I think it's going to take a lot to beat him. I think that's the thing. He's done so well here this afternoon. It's been a huge weekend for the youngster. But who can take him down? That's going to be the question. I think he's going to be feeling confident. You've already taken down 2 of the best drifters in the world on your own merit. And I think, you know, if you're Jack Shanahan or you're Juha Rintanen, you've obviously got a big top 4 battle ahead of you, but whichever one of those guys gets to the final, well, they're going to have their hands full with this youngster.
Yeah, saying after the hit with James Deane, he just wanted to test the steering, and he was saying to the start line marshal, something not quite feeling right in the car. There was a big hit. They're going back into the pits now to realign the front of that car and get it ready for the final, where he will either face Jack Shanahan from Ireland or Juha Rintanen from Finland, both of those drivers in the championship fight. So those top 5 could be all switched around when we finish up here today. I have no idea. I mean, there's too much math going on for simple people like us, Eddie, but we will be able to show you that towards the end of the show. And I'll tell you one thing, Nicholas Bertnans right now, to me, looking like the favorite. He's looked, I mean, if you take down Wiancek, take down Deane, you take down all the conditions, you're on your home track with your home fans behind you, he's going in with a lot of momentum here.
Certainly carrying the momentum, and you know what, no matter what the conditions have been here, Nicholas Bertnans has managed to find a way around this circuit. He's been in a match to every competitor that's been put up against him and every condition that he has faced.
And absolutely, and I think, what do we think of Jack Shanahan, Juha Rintanen, both of those guys, a very different approach to this top 16. Shanahan with all the flair, all the proximity. Rintanen with a little bit more, you know, a reserved nature, I would say. So there you have it. It's official. Duane McKeever not getting to compete, unfortunately. We will see him back for Germany and Poland. He's still very much got some valuable championship points, as he will take 4th automatically. Will be annoyed not to get the podium, but Nicholas Bertnans will move through to the final, and we will start to stack up Jack Shanahan and Juha Rintanen for that incredible battle. 2, what is it, GR86, GT86, both of them with similar power, and 2 very different driving styles, and both driving styles. Jack Shanahan has been working and not working all the way through, and so has Juha Rintanen. He won in Sweden. Jack Shanahan yet to win an event this year. He'd love to win it here. So we are waiting for cars to leave the pit area. Of course, this is a short turnaround here for a lot of these teams, and there's a lot of tape in there, being a lot of blue tack, a lot of cable ties, a lot of riv nuts being used to put back cars together.
Yeah, I mean, look, the drivers and the cars are absolutely battered and bruised at this stage, and for the guys that are left in the competition, it's been an exhausting weekend. They've faced every condition possible, and you know, from sun and dry conditions, and you know, in practice leading into the event, leading into the weekend, and then to get such horrible weather this morning, and they have just faced it all. So sitting in probably very wet, damp racing suits, and now to try and just keep the minds focused here for the last couple of battles, and Shanahan and Juha knowing that they're gaining valuable points here in the championship, keeping those championship hopes alive. And one of those guys could be leading the championship when we leave Riga this weekend.
Well, you know what? Also, the title here is King of Riga, and that's its own little championship moving along. It's been a historic thing to win every year. Peter Wiańczek's won it. You know, Adam Zalewski's won it. James Deane has won it. You know, all the big names have won it. I'll tell you who hasn't won it. Jack Shanahan hasn't won it, and Juha Rintanen hasn't won it. So that they want to come away from this weekend not only winning the event, but they could also come away with one of the top positions in the championship, going into the final 2 rounds. Unfortunately, Peter Wiańczek bowing out quite early in the competition, and I think, to be honest, getting caught by the conditions more than anybody on the grid this weekend, simply because he had no sight laps. It was the first wet lap, and everybody was watching him, and they all learned from his mistakes as they went through. Well, there was still a lot of mistakes after that in the 32, but from my perspective now, he sits a little bit, especially he would have hoped that all of the drivers above him would have fallen out of competition early. They haven't. You still have Shanahan, you still have Rintanen in the competition, heading towards one of those going to the final. So it's going to be tough for Peter Wiańczek to fight back for the rest of this championship and sort of respectfully sit within that top 3, which must be his chance now. James Deane out of competition with an over-rotation. When have I ever said that here in Riga? But it just goes to show how difficult it is, and he'll be giving some feedback to his neighbour Jack Shanahan, and of course Jack Shanahan very much using James Deane as a mentor for all those years, and then Conor using Jack as a mentor. So you've got the generation game here between, you know, neighbours essentially in Ireland, and then Juha Rintanen just back out of your screens here, getting that car dialed in, making sure everything is 100%. And I've got to say, the big thing for me is, you know, debuting a brand new GR86 this year, going from an S15. What a move that was for Juha Rintanen. We have never seen him so strong in this championship, and that car looks absolutely perfectly matched to his driving style.
Yeah, it seems to really suit, and him and that car really hooking up well together, and they were hooking up really well around this circuit. He had a good start to the championship. He's, you know, he's had a podium already this year, and he's looking to just double down on that this weekend, but also try and take the championship lead for the first time this season as well. And
yeah, well, also you got to think about it, Eddie. If he wins today, he's the only driver that's won 2 events out of 4. He will be the most winningest driver in European drifting this year. But he's got to go through Jack Shanahan, and that's not the easiest of tasks. And I think both of these guys taking their time, because they know the longer they leave it, the drier this track gets and the more they can push. And the more we want them to push, because it's going to be very, very entertaining. Not one car on the grid left with not out tire marks on the door, tail lights broken, tape all over it. But Jack Shanahan's warming up, and he's ready for his top 4 battle. Remember, the winner of this battle will go to the final. The loser will automatically take 3rd step on the podium.
so as we watch both those drivers warming their tyres, let's not forget Jack Shanahan without a win on the European circuit in some time. No win this season, and he'll be gunning for that top spot. He'll be feeling it, Dave. He'll know that now is his time to just get himself back in the zone. It's been a rough start to the season. We've heard him say in the championship, in his interviews with Becky, that he's not happy with his driving. He's frustrated down there. He doesn't feel like he's hooking up as well as he can, and from what as well as what we've seen him do in the past. And you know, maybe this is the weekend that changes all that for him. Maybe he leaves here as the King of Riga, and maybe that reignites him, and maybe that puts him in a position where he can now really focus on taking a championship with 2 rounds to go. Well, he's got to go through Juha Rintanen here. He's got to be at his best. Yeah,
Juha Rintanen's going to come for this one. You can guarantee Juha Rintanen's got all the pace dialed into that car. Both of these cars turned up to 11 for this top 4 battle. And Jack Shanahan just getting those last few gasps of fresh air into that car before he sends it into that first corner. Juha Rintanen will be in the chase position. And Jack Shanahan, without a win this year, Juha Rintanen has tasted the top step on the podium. Starline Marshall Marston having a quick word with both drivers here just to make sure they're both okay before they send them into the first corner. And I think conditions to me right now are definitely as good as they've ever been this weekend. So let's hope for 2 very clean runs here to decide who is the better man and who's going to the final.
Well, we know it's going to be one of these 2 greats. It is going to be Juha Rintanen, or it is going to be Jack Shanahan. I'm expecting fireworks out in the circuit here as these 2 absolute veterans of the sport go head to head. Juha Rintanen now in the chase position. Is that the advantage, Dave? Is it still an advantage
I'm not
to be
sure
in the chase
anymore.
position?
Yeah, I think in the wet, definitely. We saw it happen all the way through. In the lead now, Jack Shanahan can go hot here, expecting a fully dry track. Maybe some patches still out there. Shanahan, no boot lid on the car, and he's come out absolutely flying. Huge initiation. Juha Rintanen, no answer for the initiation. Jack Shanahan is like a rocket ship through the first 2 corners, but now Rintanen starts to turn the screw and get back into this one. Where is he in the smoke? There he is. Rintanen pops out on the door of Jack Shanahan. Last minute dive as Shanahan throws it out to the wall, and what a lead run this is, as Juha Rintanen now, just towards the end of the run, gets up on the door and gets back in the fight.
Yeah, fireworks in the first half of that one, Dave. Really, really fast out of the blocks came Jack Shanahan, but Juha just found his footing in the run just as they came in front of the grandstand and just started to turn the screw exactly like you said, Dave, and found that proximity through the latter stages and put the pressure on Shanahan. And I think we've got a really, really exciting second half to this Final Four battle between these two absolute gladiators.
Yeah, with no proximity from Juha Rintanen through the first half of the course, but then he gets the business done here. He starts to fire through, and this transition gets him back in the mix. As Shanahan looks so calm and comfortable in dry conditions. All the panic we saw, you know, in the wet conditions gone out the window now. But Rintanen comes through the smoke cloud and gets back into the fight. And I have to say, just not getting close enough until the last corner. He actually shortcut the track here a little bit to get back in the mix, and Shanahan looking pretty comfortable there as Juha Rintanen goes up onto the door, stays there, and this is beautiful from Rintanen at the end. But is it too little too late? Has he got, you know, all that disadvantage from not having the proximity for the first half of the run? One thing is for sure, he's left the door open here for Shanahan. If Jack Shanahan can get that proximity, can get up on the door, can take that risk, and more importantly, not get left on the run-up, well, I'll tell you one thing, Jack Shanahan is sitting 2 car lengths back here because he does not want to get left on the run-up here.
No, he's not going to allow that to happen one bit here. He knows Juha's fast through the circuit. Juha's always been fast. And here comes Shanahan. Here comes Juha. They slam through the gears. Can they get it done on this final run in the Final Four? 1 spot left in the final. Here goes Juha. Here comes Shanahan roaring behind him as Juha goes really wide. Shanahan now punts down the door. As Juha starts to pull the gap now, can Shanahan find the proximity? Big angle from Juha Rintanen. Shanahan goes off the circuit. Shanahan goes wide. Juha spins.
No, but hold on. Is that 2 incompletes at the same time, or what happened there? So we got to check it. So both drivers not completing the run.
So
and what a moment for drift. Eddie, I'm going to allow you that scream because I had no idea what was happening there. Both of the guys, Juha Rintanen spins, Jack Shanahan goes off the track. What does that even mean?
Does this bring us back to the first run, Dave? Does everything that just unfolded on the second half of this battle?
Well, the judges are going to have to decide, did Juha lead Jack Shanahan off? Did Jack Shanahan cause, I don't know if Jack Shanahan could cause the spin for Rintanen, I'm not sure, but I'm going to have to watch the replay of that. But I'm not sure what happened there as they went into the second half of the course. It looked to me like they all just let go of the steering wheel and let God take the wheel, and we ended up with 2 cars all over the track, and both of these guys not looking comfortable. But Rintanen thinks he's lost it, Shanahan thinks he's lost it, and someone's going to win it. That's how this works. Let's have a look at this. So Shanahan's going too wide, Rintanen's on way too much angle. Oh, so it looks to me, as Shanahan debeats the front wheel on the car, it looks to me like both drivers spin out kind of independently, which I don't even know how that's happened.
A firm reminder of the battle that these 2 guys had last year on this very circuit, Dave, where it was absolute carnage. Shanahan had debeated tyres. Both drivers were incompletes. It was absolutely crazy. But look at this. The real question here, was Juha going to put that car into a spin already?
Well, I mean, I don't know how...
He dials on huge angle.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then he gets up on the curb. Is Shanahan left with nowhere to go, or was Shanahan going off the circuit already as well?
I think Shanahan's going off anyway, but I think Juha Rintanen and Shanahan are not completing that corner irregardless of each other. That's how it looked to me. One goes on a spin, the other one goes off the track, debeating tyres, bits of cones and stuff all over the place. That means if it's both incompletes, it would go back to the first run. So I'm not sure. The drivers don't know, we don't know, the judges are having a conversation. If you want to see, look up confused in the dictionary, you're looking at it on the screen right now. I don't know, it's first spot in the final and I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what, Dave, you could look at that replay 100 times and you wouldn't be able to be any the wiser as to what happened.
Now I know the judges are looking at this from multiple different angles.
Yeah. I think that's what they refer to as a racing incident. But
there's no contact as far as I can tell. Now, I just want to go back here and see, was there contact at all to cause Rintanen to go off the track? But it kind of looked like to me Shanahan actually made the same mistake his brother did and transitioned too late, went out wide and ended up having no more track, getting lost in the smoke. But then Rintanen spins the car. This is going to be the view here, right? Is there contact? Well, Shanahan's back quite a bit here. Oh, it looks like they're just 2 independent spins on their own, which is just a very unusual situation to have in the top 4. So it looks like both drivers. So who's going to go through to the final? It's going to be Jack Shanahan getting the win. Jack Shanahan gets the win, and he shakes his head because he ended up in the grass and he got the win. And it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And we're going to go quickly back to you, Kevin. 2 independent incidents there on the second run?
Yes and no. That's what we were debating about, actually, Dave. We were debating whether Jack was going off anyway, or was he led in there by Juha. And if you look at it, you can clearly see that Juha is coming in a little bit too hot. He's having to dial on angle to try and not go off at outer zone 5. And in my opinion, Jack was following him in. He was less than a metre behind him, and he had nowhere to go as he was coming in towards outer zone 5. So you are always following the lead car, and when up, Jack has trying to slow the car down behind him, but has nowhere to go. So in my opinion, I'm thinking Jack was led in there by Juha, and therefore it's an incomplete to Juha, and Jack is not at fault. David's opinion for him was that it was 2 independent spins. Jack was going off anyway, and Juha went off anyway. So again, a split decision, but that's why we have 3 judges here.
Well, I can't make sense of any of it. Cars going off the track, cars going into spins, crashes, transitions, rain, sun, shine, bits and pieces, cones in the air. I don't know. So Jack Shanahan is going back up to the start line because he's going into the final, and he will take on Nicholas Bertens, and it looks to me like Jack Shanahan will take the maximum amount of points from this round as the highest finishing championship contender, but he could take even more if he takes down Nicholas Bertens. Nicholas Bertens, nothing to lose. He's just going to try and win his home event. With Duane McKeever, as far as I know, they're still trying to fix the car, but I don't think they're going to get it fixed in time, which would mean that all would have to happen really to take third step on the podium is Juha Rintanen just do a pass to the track. He would still get a podium, not lose a huge amount of points to Jack Shanahan ahead of him. I'm not sure where that stacks them all up at the end. There's too many abacuses going left and right, but we'll figure that out, I'm sure. Much cleverer people than I are. I'm doing that mathematics behind the scene, and we'll see soon enough. We have a D-bead from Jack Shanahan on the front of the car. We have Juha Rintanen. I think he got through that pretty unscathed, so he can't go and just do a by run. In fact, all he has to do really is initiate the first corner, and he's going to take third step on the podium. So a lot of panic down in the... yeah, see Duane McKeever, Juha Rintanen there, they have the 3rd and 4th place playoff, but I really don't think Duane McKeever is going to make that. They're still underneath that car in the paddock trying to figure out what's wrong with it. Gearbox issues is what we're hearing, which I don't think is something they can fix right now in the pits, which means Rintanen will just initiate the first corner, and then he would take it. But you know what? We're about to find out. We got 2 more spots on the podium to decide, and right now we're heading to the finals. So 56 drivers entered this competition. We are now down to our final 4, well, 3. Well, even one of the final 4 couldn't make it to the battle. Juha Rintanen will warm tires and do a run just to take that 3rd step on the podium, but he'll be right there in the championship mix, Eddie, and that's where he wants to be. He's had a couple of sketchy runs today, and you know what, to come out with a 3rd step on the podium, you know, you couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he's gained points on Lauri Heinonen, he's gained points on Conor Shanahan, he's going to lose a few points to Jack Shanahan, who was already in a 10-point deficit too, but he should see himself firmly in contention going into the final 2 rounds, and that's exactly where you need to be.
Yeah, Team Shanahan putting some last-minute cable ties on that car. There isn't enough cable ties in the world to keep these things together this weekend. And Rintanen, you know, he's got no opponent here. Unfortunately for Duane McKeever, he will have to settle for 4th place, which he did at round 1. So McKeever still very much in the hunt for this championship as well. He had a bad round in Finland, but you know, 4th place, he'd take that with some of the troubles and a spin earlier on. And I don't think any of these 4 drivers that are left in the competition right now have done clean runs the whole way through. I think everyone has spun at some point, except for maybe Nicholas Bertens, who hasn't really put too many errors on the board today. But,
despite having that huge impact with James Deane.
He had a crash, but he won because James Deane over-rotated. So it is going to be Juha Rintanen now just to pass the first corner. And the Finnish fans who have made a huge journey to be here will get a trophy this weekend, as Juha Rintanen will guarantee 3rd step on the podium as he comes off the line. I'm sure the Finnish flags will be waving in the grandstand as he passes in front of all you guys, because he has done you guys proud, and he's right in the championship one. I think Juha Rintanen is just saying a safe run here just to get this one home and not do any more damage to that beautiful GR86.
Yeah, nice, just lap of the circuit just to come down in front of the grandstand, in front of the fans, and just, you know what, nice, no pressure run. The first time the pressure's been off all day, and what a way to take a podium finish here. He's been a real contender all season long. He's battled hard, and he'll go into the final 2 rounds, Dave, as a real contender and with a firm opportunity of being the 2023 Drift Masters European champion.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't need to wait for a decision because there's no one competing against him. He's taken 3rd step on the podium. He'll go back up to behind the start grid, and we will see him at the podium later on. Oh, Juha Rintanen is probably taking a big, deep sigh right now, going, you know what, 3rd place on a lunatic day like today, with weather all over the place, this is as much as I could hope for, and I think this was a safe run of the track just to make sure he didn't do any more damage.
Yeah, look, at this point, no real need to be pushing the car to its limits. Nothing to be gained. All he needed to do was just get that car initiated, and of course, very unfortunate for Duane McKeever not to be able to get that car back out onto the grid. Of course, that damage, not his fault, but I suppose that is motorsport. And you know what, nice to see Juha back on the podium, 2nd podium now this year for him, and it's only himself and Duane McKeever that have actually managed 2 podiums this season, but Jack Shanahan looking to take that 1st win in a long time here on a European stage.
Yeah, well, I'll put it this way. Either way it goes here in the final, whether it's Nicholas Bertans, Nik Nak, or Jack Shanahan. I mean, Jack Shanahan hasn't won since Sweden last year. I can't remember if he has ever won a Drift Masters round, Nicholas Bertans. I could be corrected, but if I don't remember it, it's been a long time ago or never happened at all. So I think it could very well be the first time he is in the final. So Duane McKeever will take 4th position. Juha Rintanen takes 3rd step on the podium, and he will be very happy with that. And lots of championship points in the bag here in Riga, and lots of confidence built into Germany and Poland. And you can see the Shanahan team. There's John Shanahan, Jack Shanahan's dad, just cleaning things down, cleaning off a little bit of oil spraying over everything, just making sure everything is A-OK, because of course this is the final round, and Jack Shanahan making sure that car is 100%. Juha Rintanen is going to do a little lap of honor here in front of the grandstand as we await the final. Of course, given that little bit of time, Eddie, just to get those cars 100% correct for the final. They've been through the wars today. Juha Rintanen comes down the track in front of the grandstand. Give him a big wave as he comes through. He is your 3rd place finisher today. He'll be heading for the podium shortly. And he would have liked a little battle with Duane McKeever, I think, but it's going to be an official decision from our judges, and I'm sure Becky Evans is going to be out there on track getting the reaction. Becky, it was a very, very tough day for Juha Rintanen, and you know what, taking 3rd step, not a bad way to finish off here in Riga.
An incredible result for you there. You must be delighted.
I am. We had a little steering issue. The steering kept changing a lot during the runs, so I'm happy for the situation.
Can you tell me what the steering issue was? Was it just kind of sketchy, or tell us?
On the other side, there's from some contact, something is loose, so it's constantly changing the toe.
So moving into next round, your championship hopes are still alive. You're still hoping for that top spot.
Yeah, it's possible. So let's see what happens.
And the last thing, you've marked this beautiful car for the first time. It was waiting for its first love tap, and you finally got it.
Yeah, it's been driven now, so I have to start driving it harder, I think.
Would you like to say anything to your Finnish fans who have been cheering you on so gallantly this weekend?
Kiitos suomalaiset. Hei, ihan uskomaton meininki taas. Ja sit Saksaa seuraavaksi ja Suomi toivot ylös. Eiks niin? Yes.
Congratulations, Juha. We'll see you at the podium.
Yeah, well, we'll see him at the podium indeed, and you can see he's just exhausted from what must be a very tough day. I'm surprised the Finnish fans are not as exhausted as he is, because they are having an absolute ball in the grandstands. They cannot believe it. But you know what? 56 drivers started this event. We are down to our final 2, and that means we are heading to the last battle of the day. Here we are, the final. And they are on the line. Jack Shanahan could end up championship leader or almost thereabouts by the end of this if he beats Nicolas Bertans. Nicolas Bertans is a wild card from Riga in Latvia in front of his home crowd. He's taken down Wiańczek. He's taken down to James Deane. If he takes down Jack Shannon, this might be the hardest run to a final anyone's ever had. And Nicolas Bertans now and Jack Shannon, two youngsters, two, I would say, idols of the sport right now, go head-to-head in Riga for the final runs of the day. They're both battered, they're both bruised, they've both spun, they've both been in crashes, but they're both here ready to take the last step on the podium. First and second up for grabs. Shanahan versus Bertans, and it's Latvia versus Ireland, and here we go.
Yes, Shanahan to lead them in for the final. Shanahan and Bertans. Bertans tries to make his move early, but Shanahan has made a super early move, and he takes a huge lead into the first corner as we go fast in front of the grandstand. Both drivers. Here comes Bertans. Appears through the smoke, and he's right on the door of Shanahan, and Shanahan throws it onto the wall. But what can Bertans do now? Through the final section, Nik Nak, paddywhack on the door goes Nicolas Bertans of Jack Shannon as they cross the line, Dave. We've kicked off this final in style.
Wow, Nicolas Bertans just appeared out of the smoke halfway through the run. I thought he was going to get left in the dust, but all of a sudden, once Shanahan's smoke cloud started to disappear, Nicolas came straight through and he was onto the door. He did get caught napping a little bit on the run, and I think that's just the extra power that Jack Shannon has in that GT86. But look at this from Nik Nak as he comes through the center section. He takes a brave dive here as he follows Jack Shannon to the edge of the circuit. Jack Shannon looking very cool, calm and collected in the lead position, and then boom, Nik Nak straight up onto the door, not letting Shanahan get away with it in that final transition. Eddie, this fight very much on, and that last transition was beautiful.
Yeah, huge transition there from Bertans onto the door of Shanahan, and as you say, Dave, this one very much in the balance. These two guys are not going to back down. One more run to go. Who's going to take it home? Well, your guess is as good as mine. These two guys are pushing really hard. They've been the best two drivers all afternoon, Dave. Very worthy final place finishers, but one of them is going to go home on the top step. The other one's going to take second place, and an all-new podium here in Drift Masters for 2023 at round 4. Who's going to be crowned King of Riga? We are about to find out. They get ready to leave the line. It is Shanahan and Bertans.
Here we go. Bertans up through the gears, up to 75 miles an hour, and Shanahan is going to go for that early initiation. Look at the snap to ankle. Jack Shannon is all over Bertans. They're still in this one. How is he getting away with these transitions as Jack Shannon reels in the youngster? He is not going to be outdone today. He is more aggressive. He's got more pace, and now one more transition to go. Bertans goes to the wall. Shanahan goes to the door. We go to our knees once again in appreciation of the talent we have seen here today. That is how you finish one of the craziest events we've ever seen.
Well, you know what, Dave? I am in absolute awe of what we have just witnessed. And you know what? I think Jack Shanahan may be in tears behind the wheel because he puts his hands over his eyes, shaking ahead. I'm not sure if he's happy or annoyed, God knows what, but Shanahan has given it absolutely everything. In a season where he has been unhappy in his driving, he has come up against one of the rising stars in the final here in Riga. Guys, give them a round of applause as they get out of their cars. Two absolute gladiators fighting to the death here in front of you here in Riga. And one of them is going to be crowned King of Riga 2023.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's how you finish on a run like that, where you see both of these drivers absolutely putting everything on the line. And Jack Shannon and Nicolas Bertans doing absolutely everything they can. Look at this from Shannon. You've ever seen someone that close on the first corner? That's one of the best chase runs I've ever seen in drifting, because that is the worst track in the world to be that on the edge, and he made it work the whole way through. Look at this, at the speed they're going, Shanahan closer than anyone, riskier than anyone, and watch this transition. Bananas, absolutely bananas from Jack Shannon as he nearly takes the front end off his car. He knew how good Nik Nak was on this track. He knew he'd taken down Wiańczek and Deane, but he wasn't going to take down Shannon today. And Shannon does everything he absolutely can to try and get that win. But has he got that win? From where we're sitting, it looked great, but the judges still deciphering this one. And the judges will make that final call of who will be the 2023 King of Riga. Shanahan applauds, and you know what? The only thing he's got to applaud is himself for what a phenomenal finish that was. The decisions will drop in and the winner will be announced. Your 2023 King of Riga is Jack Shanahan gets the win, and there was no question after the most unbelievable chase run we've ever seen in Drift Masters. He fought from behind, he fought from the rain, he fought through the mud, and he's congratulated by his girlfriend and his family and his brother who went out earlier in competition. This was Jack Shanahan's day. He held his resolve. He did everything he could to get to the top step, and he is your 2023 King of Riga. And his mum is in tears. It's emotional scenes here in the Shanahan camp. 2 almost dream weekends for them as Jack Shanahan gets back to business in this championship after a long time halfway down the grid. And Becky, you are down with our new King of Riga.
Jack, the emotions are running high right now. I know that this season has been a roller coaster for you, and now to come back here and be the King of Riga, can you tell us what you're thinking right now?
I don't even know, to be honest. I came here 10 years ago this weekend for my first proper European event, and I've never won here. I've been talking about it during the week, and Jesus Christ, it's unbelievable. It's amazing, really, really good. So. The car was unbelievable all weekend, and when we finally got the hit in the game, it was that last chase run felt like I was just at one with the car. It was unbelievable. So happy.
And that transition, it was so good. It literally looked like you were glued to his door there. Did you just throw it in and just saw what happened?
Yeah, obviously Nik Nak's car is a little bit underpowered in comparison to this machine, but we just had the pace and I could just really work with it, and it was unbelievable. Really, really good. I don't even know what happened. I just kept pinned, and it's good fun. Good fun.
A great weekend, which is going to push you further in the points, and that top spot is still available to you after this. So you're going to have to push more again when you get to Germany. But that's a different story right now. Today is just celebrating.
I don't really care about the rest of the season now. It's been a dream to win in Riga, and to finally say that I'm the King of Riga is unbelievable. So I'll take it, absolutely.
Congratulations, Jack.
So there you have it, Jack Shanahan, the King of Riga 2023. Well, we started out with 56 drivers this weekend. We have whittled it down to 1, and what an event we have had here this weekend in Riga. We have seen it all, from sunshine to rain, to crashes, to tears, the trills and spills of drifting. Well, let's take a look at the final results. Well, Jack Shanahan has been just announced as the King of Riga, taking that top spot from local youngster Nik Nak, who is a very worthy second place position finisher. Juha Rintanen rounds out our top 3 in a very worthy finish, and he climbs up that championship order. Duane McKeever back on form here this weekend in 4th position. As we look down the order, we see the likes of Paweł Korpuliński having a huge result here. 10th position in the championship, or 10th position in the competition here. Peter Vincek, though, the surprise exit in the top 32. His championship looks almost dead and buried, but he'll be back for the final 2 rounds to try and unsettle things for our top guys. Well, there you can see Shanahan celebrating with his family, and we believe that Nik Nak is down on the grid with Becky. Becky, over to you. You've got second place finisher, Nicholas Bertans.
Nicholas, some incredible driving from you this weekend. You must be delighted with second. Obviously, I know you'd want that first place, but can you tell us what happened in that last battle?
Well, yeah, overall the weekend is a success, I'd say. From 32nd place in qualifying to second in the finals is pretty amazing for me. Against Jack, I knew I have to go flat out, but the only thing we had an issue with was tires. I didn't have anything to put on my car, either Westlifes, which I haven't driven from the rain, or used Achilles. And yeah, we just put the used tires, put some pressure in it, went for the run, and yeah, he just pulled off from the line because he had more grip, and that's where I lost. But overall, I'm happy for him. I'm happy to have made it this far, first time in DMEC and getting on the podium. So yeah, that's something I have achieved in my career, and yeah, just head up and we'll go from there.
Fantastic driving there, though. Will we be seeing you as another wild card driver again this season?
We'll see. I really want to go to Iron Drift King. I have submitted my competition there, and if I qualify third again or even higher, then I get a wild card probably. And yeah, we'll see you in Germany.
Fantastic job, Nicholas. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So there you have it, Nicholas Bertans making some moves in the championship and making a name for himself here this weekend in Riga on a European circuit. So where does that leave us for the championship as we go to the 2 final rounds? Well, Jack Shanahan overtakes his brother Conor into first position. He will be the leader into the final 2 rounds. Conor Shanahan drops down 1 position, but still very much in the hunt. Juha Rintanen jumps up 1 position into 3rd, and Lauri Heinonen, the first time he has stepped out of 4th position. Duane McKeever in 5th. You can see Peter Vincek staying in 6th position, all importantly, but albeit way behind, over 100 points deficit to Jack Shanahan. Well, 2 rounds to go. We have our next stop on the calendar, which will be the trip to Ferropolis in Germany, where we will go hard at it once again, and these boys will be back looking to take it to the walls for this penultimate round of the championship. That is coming to your screens August 17th to 19th, and look at this for a venue. Qualifying during the day, battles in the night. What an event this always promises to be, and these guys will be going hard for it. That championship very much still alive. 2 rounds to go. August 17th, join us then for round 5 of the Drift Masters European Championship. Well, that is it from all of us here at the Drift Masters European Championship. From myself, Eddie Power, David Egan, and from Becky, and from all the Drift Masters team. Thank you for joining us this weekend, and we will see you guys in a few weeks' time for round 5.